Jesus Christ.
All right, well, we are live.
Oh,
What's going on Twitch? It's your boy Devin here.
where'd pepperoni?
Or Little Pepperonio.
Oh, no, sorry.
Got Beck and Sam here with me, as usual. And we are talking Tarantino. My personal favorite director. I'm very excited to do this one. Yeah. Either of you guys have anything you want to say up front about Tarantino?
Crazy?
Crazy?
Yeah, he's crazy but effective.
Yeah, I always look forward to the gore of the movies.
Yeah, we will definitely be.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say we're definitely gonna get into the gore. We're gonna get into all the bloody details.
His ragdolls, like in his movies, are just so iconic. I love them. Like any bullet will just launch you across the room. It's amazing.
Well, it seems like that almost that's become like more and more, like that's happened more and more in his more recent movies. Like his did either of you guys watch Reservoir Dogs?
No, I did not.
Have you seen Reservoir Dogs, either of you?
I've seen it, yeah.
I can snap a Zippo on, but that's about it.
It's like there's a lot of like people getting shot in that movie, and none of them like fly across the room or anything.
Okay.
Same, I guess it does happen occasionally in Pulp Fiction, but even that's a little more grounded. I feel like it's not until like you get into post Inglourious Bastards that really starts happening.
It adds to his movies though. Like it's weird.
Oh yeah,
because it's so obviously like a fake thing, but he does it so well that it's like, okay, I can look past that easily.
Well, and he uses I like his use of violence for comedic effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
exactly.
Like not everybody can pull that off, and he does it so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I gotta ask up front, what was your guys' first Tarantino movie?
For me, it either had to be, I think, Django or Pulp Fiction. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so I feel like I guarantee you at some point in my life, I watched a Tarantino movie, just didn't realize it. But I know the first one I intentionally watched was Inglourious Bastards because you were telling me to watch it, Devin, back in like 2019.
Was that really?
No, it was that. It was Kill Bill. It was Kill Bill, actually.
I was gonna say, when did you see Pulp Fiction for the first time?
I don't know, dude. I think it was. I'm gonna say it was like around 2018. I had a friend who was really big into Kill Bill. I watched both of those and fell in love with him, and then I ended up watching Pulp Fiction because of that. But it was within like that 2017, 2018 time range. But I know for sure that like I started getting into him in 19.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually I was talking to Sam about this a little bit last night. We didn't get too in depth with it, but yeah, Inglourious Bastards was my first Tarantino movie. And actually, funny enough, because it's my favorite of his movies and just my favorite movie of all time. that I did not like it the first time I watched it. I actually got kind of bored by it. But I was in middle school, or yeah, I think I was in like the 8th grade at the time, and I wasn't like, I hadn't had a whole lot of exposure to movies that were like heavy on dialogue the way that his are. And so it was just like I don't know, something about it. I think it was the amount of especially like that first scene is like all dialogue. So it just kind of like almost put me to sleep a little bit. And then once the action started, I was like, oh, hell yeah. But I don't even know if I made it to the end of it the first time I watched it. I didn't get it at the time. And then, of course, once I got a little bit older, was a little bit more into different kinds of movies, that's when I really started to get into it. And then I rewatched it, and I was like, holy shit, this movie is amazing. And now I've seen it, I don't know how many times. I even own it on Blu-ray. But yeah, I was going to ask how you guys wanted to go about doing this, because we could go in order of release for these movies. We could do it. I don't know how you guys want to do it.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do release. That's cool.
All right. So the first one we're starting out with then would be 2007's Death Proof, which is
is that the first one?
Yeah, that came out out of the four we're talking about. That was the that came out in 2007. And then following that would be Inglourious Bastards in 2009, and then Hateful Eight in, I think, 2015, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019. So,
all right.
But yeah, so Death Proof would be the first one up. I would say probably his most underrated and least talked about movie.
Yeah.
Let's see, that's
also
100% why it's underrated in my opinion, because like nobody really knows about it. It was just such a under the radar project.
Well, part of the reason for that I feel like is because of the way they released it. It was such an odd release. Yeah, the Grindhouse double feature. And so if you wanted to go and see it in the theaters, you had to sit through like almost 4 hours of movie plus like bunch of like fake movie trailers interspersed within, which I believe one of the movie trailers that was fake at the time was Machete, and then they ended up making that into a real movie with Danny Trejo. So that was like originally just a Robert Rodriguez trailer that he made for Grindhouse, and then they ended up there like that seems cool, let's make that. But it's just like I feel like a lot of people, especially then, weren't trying to go see 4 hours of movie, weren't trying to, especially with no intermission or anything. There was no break. It just went. So you were strapped in for the whole time, and I think it was because of that release, it kind of, both of those movies underperformed, and they just don't get talked about as much as they should. And I personally, Death Proof is, I think, probably my third favorite Tarantino movie. Maybe even my second. I love that movie so much. It's like his only attempt at horror. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time watching it.
It's definitely more of a shut your mind off movie. Like in comparison to all of his, it's the one you can just kind of watch and take it at like for its face value for the most part.
Well, and it's cool too, because and it plays into the Grindhouse thing, because Planet Terror, the other movie, and that it did the same thing where it's got like these abrupt, almost unprofessional, like something happened to the film reel cuts where it just kind of jumps.
Yeah. I noticed those, and I thought something was wrong with my movie.
I
rewinded like 15 seconds.
Yeah, those are intentional. And then just like the film grain with like the pops and stuff, all that just adds to the vibe of the movie, and it's a callback to old Grindhouse exploitation films, and it just works. Some film critics would disagree. I don't think it got the warmest reception upon release, but I think in retrospect, a lot of people like look back on it now with more of a fondness than when it came out.
Yeah, it aged,
It's definitely got a cult following, I feel like.
but I don't know. I love the movie for the cars. Just being that kind of like a gearhead in that sense. It's sad to see him wreck, but it's really cool to see him get up to speed, you know. But no, I mean, calling him Stuntman Mike the entire time. Another like just seeing Kurt Russell and Tarantino movies. I love every time he's in there, even if it's a short one or he's like one of the main characters. He always does an amazing job, even for just kind of a one movie like this.
Well, that was also, I think, his first time working with Tarantino, and I think that might be my favorite of his roles. It's hard for me though, because he's great in like everything I've seen him in. But yeah, I mean, even Overboard, I love him in that movie. Like, I just love Kurt Russell when I see him and stuff. But Stuntman Mike is one of my favorite of his characters.
You think Stuntman Mike's a method actor, right?
I mean,
because I mean, no, he's not technically an actor, but he's a stuntman. I feel like he's method because he just never breaks. He's always right.
Well, he did break at the end there. Once he got shot, he turned into a little baby.
But no, and then just also the movie's just so riddled with Easter eggs. Like a lot of his movies are, but this one felt like it was just so jam packed with every single thing in it, and it was all. That whole movie just felt like it was there to promote his other movies almost.
Well, so I don't know if this is what you were hinting at a little bit ago, but the scene after he does the first big kill, and he kills that group of girls, and then it cuts to the hospital, and there's the sheriff talking to the I don't know if he's a deputy or just somebody who works at the hospital, but they're talking about
like how he got
Stuntman Mike, and that sheriff, he's the same sheriff, Earl McGraw, that shows up at the murder of the bride in Kill Bill, and he's also the sheriff that shows up after the gas station shootout in From Dusk Till Dawn. So that's the same character in all three of those movies.
That's pretty cool.
No, that's not what I was talking about, but that is really cool.
Well, and there's a reason for that too, and that's because Kill Bill and Death Proof, and to an extent From Dusk Till Dawn, Tarantino has said are all movies in the Tarantino universe, but there's actually two levels to his universe. So there's like the level that like Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, like all these live in the realm of like this actually happened. And then Kill Bill, Death Proof, From Dusk Till Dawn, those are movies that the characters in like Pulp Fiction, if they went to the movies, those are the movies they would be watching. So it's like a cinematic universe within Tarantino's cinematic universe. And Sheriff Earl McGraw is kind of the like connecting character for those movies.
Okay.
Fuck. That
it's like for the movies that are filmed inside of his movies.
Yeah, basically.
No, I never even picked up on that. So
yeah,
that absolutely was not what I was talking about. It was the very end of the movie is what I was trying. And I might be wrong about this, but I'm almost positive. But anyway, I'll get to that in a second. But also
they're all punching him.
Yeah, exactly. The fight. It's okay. Never mind. It's like the exact same choreography for the scene where they're ganging up on the bride, right? Or it's so close to it almost.
See, okay, I'd have to rewatch the actual like scene of them beating her up, but because
I was trying to find it and I couldn't. But
I don't think they actually show them beating her up.
Why do I have that in my head?
As much as what happens is it's like shows them all pull out assault. They're like standing outside of the church. Bill is in the church.
Yeah, because it's the wedding
and they walk. The four of them are standing outside with assault rifles, and they walk in, and you just hear her see them and go, "Bill, no!" And then you hear a bunch of gunfire, and then it shows her on the ground like dying, and then they're all standing above her, and then she says like, "Bill, it's your baby," and then he shoots her.
And I think there is a scene I think it's in the second one where she's like in between all four of them, and they're just kind of beating her up.
Yeah, and I thought there was. Again, I could be wrong because I didn't rewatch Kill Bill to check this out. I was just trying to find it before we hopped on here real quick. But it just looked, again, in the way it was set up, it looked like it was ripped right out of Kill Bill Volume 2, I think, right? You said, Sam? If
it did show it, it would have been the beginning of the second one, because that's where they get a little more in depth with what happened.
But
I can kind of pull it up here while we're talking.
I was trying to find it, and I kept finding the ones, like where they walk into the church and you just hear yelling. I don't know why I'm so stuck on that. But also the yellow and red car, like the mustard ketchup car, that was in Kill Bill, and then it's in Death Proof. The same color, the same color schemes in it, and I don't think that's by chance at all, because that's such a weird color scheme to have on a car. But
well, then there's also the more obvious connections, like the Red Apple cigarettes.
Oh, that's in every single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that was the first movie where I picked up on like Red Apple cigarettes, and I was looking for them because I wasn't sure if they were a real thing, and now I'm just so aware every time that they pull them out or if they mention them. It's God. I don't understand why he built his own cigarette company around his movies, but I also will never question that.
What did Jody call him in Hateful Eight?
Oh, I have that written down. Hold on. Because I made notes of like the Spanish version of it.
Yeah. I don't speak Spanish. I thought I wrote it down.
Roja.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Because it was like the narrator talking. He was like, and Bob's smoking Manzana Roja, and he's like liking it or whatever. But that wasn't even the first mention of it. That was the second time, because they're in the barn and he asks, he's like something about the Minnie and her pipe, and he's like, she rolls Red Apple. Like, she doesn't smoke from a pipe.
Yeah, I'm kind of just skimming Kill Bill right now, the second one, and it doesn't show them actually like beating her up.
I don't know what I'm on about then. So I take that back.
Unless, let me check the first one. Skim the first one here.
They didn't do like a weird... Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about Death Proof. I really do just enjoy it, and for like little Easter eggs and everything. I mean, it's hard to focus around, or I think it's hard for me to talk a lot about the movie just because it's one car wreck and a fight scene.
Well, there's also
short, but...
So this is, in my opinion, and I think it might be subjective, but I believe that this is Tarantino's sexiest movie.
Oh, there's a lap dance, so.
There's an awesome long lap dance, and it's just a lot of, the women are attractive in this movie. And it's just, I don't know, the dialogue, the things that happen, like the whole first half of the movie is just a bunch of chicks hanging out at a bar and being goofy. And it's just awesome. And then you said what?
Crackhead energy.
A fun thing I noticed that I hadn't realized before was while they're hanging out at the bar, the two guys that they're with are two of the guys from the Inglourious Bastards. Eli Roth and Omar Doom are the two actors, and they're two of the bastards.
Wasn't Eli Roth Margaretti and
yep.
Yeah.
And then Omar Doom was Dominic DeCoco.
Excuse me.
Which also I literally just got done watching
Once Upon a Time
in Hollywood. And one of the movies is that he does in Italy is directed by Antonio Margheriti. I was like, oh hell yeah!
It's like Operation Dynamito or something was the name of the movie. Yeah, it was Antonio Margheriti. I loved when I saw that. I was like, no shit.
There's also, of course, another mainstay of Tarantino movies. They talk about the billboard for Big Kahuna Burger.
Tasty burger.
Also, I've noticed another thing that he somehow slips into all his movies is the Wilhelm scream.
He does.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's in every single one of the movies,
You
and that's
ruined
definitely,
Tarantino
just
for me.
yeah.
you ruined Tarantino for me.
What, you don't like the Wilhelm scream?
Not so much. I understand its value, but again, I know we talked
It's
about
iconic.
it on Lord of the Rings. It takes me out, and like some movies, it does that for me because it's so out of place. Like on his, okay, I understand it. They're a little more comedic, but in some movies, I just hate it.
Well, that's like in Reservoir Dogs. There's a scene. It's like a flashback scene where they're robbing a bank and they get into a shootout with the cops, and one of the guys just fires, and you hear someone get hit off screen. You don't see them get hit. You just see them fire and hear someone get hit, and it's the Wilhelm scream that you hear. Mm-hmm. And it's like a little comedic bit. So, yeah, I mean, his is a little more effective. Yeah, I don't know how I felt about it in The Lord of the Rings. I wasn't digging it. But, yeah, with his movies, especially with the way Tarantino operates, because all of his movies, to some degree, are a celebration of cinema. Even Death Proof is, because Death Proof is, like, it's more focused on, like, the production of movies, because, like, all the girls in the second half of the movie work in the film industry. And in particular, a couple of them are stunt women. In fact, one of them, Zoe Bell, is in like a lot of his movies.
Oh, yeah.
She started out as just a stunt woman for a lot of his movies, and then I think it might have been I'm not like 100%, but I think Death Proof was the first movie where she actually acted as like a character, and she plays herself in that movie as a stunt woman. And so it's like, that movie is a celebration of cinema. So when he uses the Wilhelm scream, it's just it plays right into that celebration of iconic cinema that is so laden, especially in his most recent movie, which we'll get to. But another Easter egg in Death Proof is I don't know why I'm blanking on her name. I didn't write her name down, but Rosario Dawson's character.
Yeah.
She gets a phone call while she's in the gas station, and it's that whistle song from Kill Bill when what's her name?
One of the Vipers.
Yeah, the one with the eye patch is walking down the hallway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so
which actually also got turned into a badass rap song
Chill Bill.
a couple years ago. Yeah.
Chill Bill. Oh my god. So one thing I almost forgot I was gonna bring it up with Once Upon a Time, but yeah, there's a big part in it, especially in Death Proof. Like Tarantino has a foot fetish.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the other thing. This movie, I think, has more foot shots than any other movie.
It is absurd. I never started picking up on it till like I started like just watching like all of these ones in a row, and I just started noticing feet everywhere, and it's so prevalent.
Well, and so I didn't have to, but I decided to make like a little promo video for this podcast, and I put together a bunch of shit. So it starts out with the iconic trunk shot, which is also in Death Proof, where it's the shot from inside the trunk looking up at the characters. So I started with the trunk shots, and then I went into all the foot shots. And so I had to go online, and I found a compilation of just every foot shot in every Tarantino movie. And I realized something, actually, because I just always, whenever I thought of the foot shot, I thought of like just a woman's foot with no shoe on. But there's actually he does a lot of just like shots of people's boots and shoes standing there too. Like it's actually crazy how many times he works in just like someone's foot, not even in the way that everyone's like, oh, he's just really into women's feet. But I mean, like, Inglourious Basterds has so many shots of like German soldiers' boots standing on the ground, and it's just like he does that a lot. He's got a thing for that kind of angle. It's odd, but it's part of his style.
Yep. I come to expect it in every one of his movies.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I expect feet.
He's gonna
Actually, why I watched the movie.
his 10th movie is gonna be just like no feet in it, and then someone's gonna be like, "What the fuck, man? Where were the feet? I was here for the feet. I want my money back."
It's gonna be like after credit scene of him just dumping ketchup on him like it's a Dan Schneider show.
Well, it's even I think Tarantino's favorite movie to shoot was From Dusk Till Dawn, because he literally had Salma Hayek's foot in his mouth.
Oh, I'd love that movie too, honestly.
That movie's fantastic.
I've not seen it. I need to. But yeah, I don't know how to follow that up. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't know what else to put on that. I mean, the feet, man.
Yeah, I had written that in that especially Death Proof, there are a lot of shots of feet, and it was funny too because in the promo I made for this, so I went from the feet shots to all the violent deaths in his movies, and to do like the transition, I had the shot of the one girl's leg that flies out of the car and lands in the street.
That was fucking wild.
That first.
Yeah, well. That first kill is brutal when the tire goes over the one girl's face.
So actually,
flies out the windshield.
Oh, what was it? It might be Hoonigan. There is like a car channel on YouTube somewhere, and they were talking about how they hired this guy and he showed up in an old Nova and it was death proofed out, everything, and they're like, oh, whatever, like, okay, you have another one. He's like, no, it was one of the cars from set. His dad was actually a stuntman on that movie. And it's that first wreck, because his car like goes up over like flips. They had 3 cars for it, and they were supposed to wreck all of them. I think it was the first one. They realized that above the roll cage and the car, the roof was like crushing in between that. So they ended up welding a plate on there so it wouldn't come down and hit the driver. So they ended up getting that shot done on the second try. So the guy ended up buying that car for like $500, and he has like the last surviving death proof Nova.
Fuck yeah.
But also that crash, they play it time and time again. It just made me think of, I'm pretty sure it was The Omen, right? Where the truck comes back with like the glass on it and it cuts the head off, and they replayed it like 7 times because the director was like, he wanted everybody to make sure they saw it. That if they closed their eyes the first time, it just made me feel like that, because we just saw everything happen time and time again.
Well, yeah, but with this one, it's definitely he's showing like each character in the car's demise, and he focuses in on each one, and so everyone gets their gory time to shine.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I get that. That's all I could think of when the first time I saw that is like, wow, like, you really aren't gonna miss any of this.
Yeah,
it was great. No, that first wreck is awesome.
All right, I got a question for you guys. All right, you're at the bar.
Yeah.
You see stuntman Mike.
Uh-huh.
He offers to drive you home. You go to his car, and there's a death box.
Yeah.
Do you get in?
Well, it wasn't a death box.
It was a death box. I mean,
it was a death box, but it wasn't. It was like a box for a camera.
Yeah, it was.
But the second I see no seat and he just throws like a metal stool down, yeah, I'm gonna take a Uber. This was also before Uber though, so I mean,
cabs haven't been around though, and they're in a pretty big city. You could probably call a cab. But yeah, I'd probably get in a car with Kurt Russell. Like, even to be fair, I'd get in the car.
I was gonna say, I mean, he's talking about movies and shit. I'm a big movie guy, so I'd be like, oh fuck, this dude's talking movies. Yeah, I probably wouldn't even be paying attention to the fact there's no seat. I just sit down on the pole that's sticking up and just oh, that movie was great.
Yeah, no, easily. That's hard yes. Plus, you're like, well, I'd like to be part of the second act. Yeah, this would be cool. But
so See, I love that. That's one of my favorite lines. That probably is my favorite line in the whole movie. Is when he looks at her and he's just like, "Remember when I said this car was death proof? Well, honey, to get the benefit of that, you really gotta be sitting in my seat." And then he fucking like slams her face into the dashboard. It's just fantastic.
I do love them. They're just pulling out of the bar. He's like, "Which way you going?" She's like, "Well, like right." He's like, "That's a shame." He's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
It was so fast into it. Like, and I didn't even realize like why he was even worried about it. But it's like, oh yeah, like, he's gonna kill this bitch. That's why.
Yep.
My only question with that, I guess the reason why he said we're going left instead of right is because he wanted to kind of follow the other girls. But to a certain point, like, he's fucking with her in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
How is he able to catch up to them and, like, know where they are on the road? It just seemed like kind of...
Mike.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know they're going to the lake house, so if he knows where that is, he can just take the route, but...
I think he does, because you look like he had like pictures of him. He was ready, like he knew who.
This
he wanted
is
to
true.
get.
He probably did some surveillance on him.
Yeah, exactly. In the most discreet car ever, did surveillance. You know, he definitely knew what he was doing. That's how.
Oh, okay. So another thing that's like a Easter egg in this movie is the scene where they're like at lunch after they pick Zoe up from the airport. The camera's going around the table while they're talking. It is exactly the same camera work that they did, or he did for Reservoir Dogs. The opening scene.
Oh.
All of them are sitting there at the table talking, and at some point, like, even there's like this, because Tarantino's sitting there talking about how like a virgin, like the true meaning of Madonna's like a virgin, and then it turns into Steve Buscemi's character talking about why he never tips waitresses. And while all these conversations are going on, the camera's just like panning around the table and occasionally cutting between characters, but it's like the exact same camera movement. And then I also like that they took shots at the Nicolas Cage Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, that was nice.
It just made me think of the first podcast we did.
Yep.
Why would they make taking shots in such a good movie, though?
I know, right?
Well,
Connection. I think he was just jealous, is what it was. He was insecure about this movie. When is Nick Cage gonna work with Tarantino?
that would be fucking
Do you think
awesome.
that would be his best or his worst performance? Like real quick.
Probably one of his best. I mean, I'm sure Tarantino would know how to write for him.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add on Death Proof. I don't know how much you had written down on it.
Oh, I still have more.
Oh, please. So yeah, please just like go ham with
But
it.
Sam, do you have anything else?
Not really. I don't know.
No. All right. Well, another thing I had written down is there's this odd thing that he does. It's another one of his shots that's in like every single one of his movies. And it's this thing where he's got one character that's like really close to the camera. And then another character will be back in the like foreground. And he's got like this weird blending he does behind them. I noticed it, especially watching a few of his movies back to back like this. But in like every single one of his movies, he's got this shot at some point in the movie, and it stands out like less and less as his movies progress. The blending gets better, but like the Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, when he does it, it's like kind of rough. I wish I could just. I'm gonna see if I can find like a example at some point here to send to you guys, but it's just like, yeah, it's just this shot he does in every movie, and I've never really seen it before or like outside of his movies. Is this weird, like, blended shot that he does. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Does this ring a bell at all?
No,
I think I
not for
like,
me.
I mean, I think I can picture it, but I can't think of any like specific scenes.
All right, I'm gonna Tarantino blend shot. See if I can just what that'll come up with. No.
I remember they were at the diner, and you could see him at the counter in the background. Not quite what you're talking about, but
You can see. Wait, what are you talking about?
when they were eating at the diner, you could see Stuntman Mike at the counter in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in the diner.
I don't think I noticed that. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I didn't notice that.
I think actually I do have something to say. That was one of my gripes, because she mentioned she had a gun, so he was there. He should have known they had a gun, but
Huh.
I mean,
Oh my god, I fucking love that when he's like, "Wow, that was fun." Well, adios, and then his fucking arm just like explodes. And he's just like, ah! And from then on, that movie becomes like some of the most satisfying, like cinema I've ever watched. Just literally seeing this dude get his ass beat for the next like 10 minutes
Yeah.
while he's crying like a baby. It's so satisfying.
So you really see Mike. He comes down like he just felt like an unstoppable force, and then he gets shot once, and you see him realize, like, oh, like he knows it's just done now. You can only get away with murder so many times.
Yep.
Here it is.
He could have killed him, but he was playing too
yeah,
much.
I don't. Yeah, I was say I feel like they should not have gotten out of that, but
All right, I'm going to send this image to you guys so you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to send it over Discord here.
okay.
But this is what I'm talking about. This is from Reservoir Dogs. God, my computer is just... I have so many windows open right now trying to... I'm just going to put it right in the pizza shop here. Bloop. All right, so if you look at it, it's like the dude's head, the cop, he's just been tortured and almost lit on fire, and then you have Tim Roth's character in the foreground bleeding out. And there's like this weird blending going on between them. And this happens in at least one shot in every single one of his movies I've noticed. Now, there were a couple I didn't get a chance to rewatch. I haven't watched Jackie Brown in a long time. I didn't get around to rewatching Django. But in a lot of his movies, this type of shot happens. It's a very odd thing I picked up on. And I don't know if it's intentional that it's supposed to look like that or not, because I don't like it that much. It's one of the few things of Tarantino's movies that I go, why?
He looks photoshopped in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ugly. It's ugly. That's the best way I can put it. At least, like for me, at least.
I don't even know what you would call that shot. I'm trying to see if I can find another example of it. I don't want to be Googling on here for too long, but that's what I'm talking about, is that kind of shot. Also, I like the Jonathan Loughran, one of Adam Sandler's boys, ends up showing up in Death Proof.
Who is it?
He's one of the Satanists from Little Nicky.
Oh,
He's the guy that's trying to sell the car that they leave what's her name with, and he's just like, Hello there. Yeah, that guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know his real name, so that was.
I've never seen him outside of an Adam Sandler movie except for Death Proof. And that's also that kind of ties into an Easter egg, or I guess not an Easter egg, but a fun fact of Inglourious Bastards. But I'll get to that when we get there. Also, what the fuck is this whole ship's mast bullshit?
Oh,
The what?
Who the fuck does that?
they get on the hood of the car and then
Yeah, that's what they call it, ship's mast. Who is doing that, and why are you doing that?
stun people.
Yeah. You never did that on like a Friday night down a back road?
Yeah.
No. Can't say I have.
You want to?
No, not particularly.
You'll never understand it.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, you just don't understand, Devin. It's for adrenaline, man.
Well, I get that. I don't know. It seems a little reckless to me.
Cliff Burton
Just
wouldn't have cared.
It's only dangerous if some guy
Wait, what was
comes
his,
up
what was his name?
with a car behind you and starts bumping you.
Yeah,
Bumping.
that's not entirely true.
That's a good way to
but
put
okay.
it. Bumping, you know? Dude.
Also, because she's a stunt woman, I'm pretty sure that was Zoe Bell on the hood of that car the whole time.
Oh.
Like
Probably.
there was no stunt double for that. That she was the stunt double.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, she wasn't. I mean, again, it comes down to that's all she had done. So, like, even if she, yeah, you know, it wouldn't have mattered if something happened. She just would have had the same career. That's what I'm saying, is like she did before. But she just got lucky enough to survive that. Now she's in his movies.
That does remind me, though. There's a story that came out. I think sometime last year. It came out recently, but apparently. There's a shot in Kill Bill where Beatrix is driving a car, and Tarantino didn't want a stunt double or anything. He didn't want a driving double. He said, I want you driving the car. I want to get this shot. I need you driving the car. She didn't feel comfortable driving the car, but he really pushed her to do it, and she ended up actually getting into a car accident filming that scene, and she injured herself. She says that she's not like upset with him about it or anything. Like she's moved on from it, but at the time she was upset about it, and it caused Tarantino a little bit of heat when that came out in the news. I think it was last year.
Oh, damn! So this was. Oh, do you know which car was it? The mongoose or was it the truck?
I think it was a car. It wasn't the truck. It was like, I think a scene where I think it was the scene, you know, when she's driving, she like goes to, I think, another country, or it's where she's trying to get the location of where Bill is from Michael Park's character, and he's like out in the jungle or whatever, and she's driving really fast down this road. I think it's that shot. He wanted her to be driving for that shot. He didn't have a driving double. And during that, she lost control. She crashed the car. And she got injured.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the many times that Tarantino has come under a bit of heat.
I feel like he's used to it, though.
Yeah.
Like that's just part of, like, he's one putting out a new movie. Might as well just kind of get ready.
But yeah, like I said, the ending to this movie is, it might be my favorite ending of one of his movies. I mean, it's definitely up there. That scene, of course, he's like crying the whole time, but then when they finally like get his car like fucking totaled, and he's just like, it literally said in the subtitles, because I bought this movie.
Okay.
So I just have it now. So I have like the official subtitles. It literally just says "screaming like a banshee," and then he's like, "My arm's broken," and they pull him out, and they just start beating the absolute shit out of him. Yeah. It's so satisfying. And then that song "Chick Habit" comes on. It's just perfect. I love it.
But
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all as far as my notes go for the movie. I just wish that more people had seen this movie, to be honest.
Yeah. So I didn't take a ton of notes. I wanted to see more your opinion on it more than anything because I've seen this a handful of times now. But
Yeah, I love this movie. I got the shirt. I got the pin.
just all on board now.
you gonna get the car next?
Yeah, you
Dude,
get a Nova?
I fucking saw one drive down my street the other day, and I was like, oh, if I fucking had that, I would go and get it.
Passenger seat.
I would go get it painted like the Death Proof car.
You got to get the emblem.
Without a moment's hesitation. Oh yeah, I would.
I'd
get
ornament. Yeah.
I'd get the skull and cross lightning bolts, and I'd get the hood ornament. It'd be the whole 9 yards. I'd take the passenger seat out and just put a metal stool in there.
You can do that for your vlogs now though. Film yourself in the car, get the actual mount for it, have a little GoPro right there.
Yeah, and that'll be my excuse when I'm driving around killing women. I'll just be like, it's just a prank, bro. It's for my YouTube channel. All right. Well, so going in chronological order, then the next movie would be his best movie, his masterpiece, the one, the only, Inglourious Bastards.
What a movie.
We almost were able to add Adam Sandler movies into we were almost able to put this into an Adam Sandler movie.
And that's what I was getting at a couple minutes ago with his buddy, because I'm so mad that Donnie did not get played, because that was written for Adam Sandler. The Bear Jew was literally written for Adam Sandler, and then Adam Sandler he wanted to go shoot Grown-Ups instead, so he said no.
Is that why?
He went and did Grown-Ups instead of being in Inglourious Bastards.
What a mistake. What a mistake. But if they could have gotten the Grown-Ups cast to play the bastards.
Fucking Kevin James standing there at attention and then scalping Nazis.
Oh yeah, he would get BJ Novak's part.
Get Rob Schneider in there.
Ooh, which one? Never mind. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah.
So, I put it at the top of my notes, but it's actually, it applies more to the end. But the Inglourious Bastards theme song is my favorite theme song of any movie. And it's not played at the beginning of the movie. It's the song that plays right when the credits start. Mm-hmm. But that song is just, every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. I love that song. And if I ever go skydiving, I will be doing it to that song.
That's such a specific scenario. Skydiving. Specifically skydiving.
I was literally listening to it one day, and I'm like, this song would be perfect if I was ever jumping out of a fucking aeroplane.
You just sound better with the wind blowing past my face as I plummet.
But and then just right off the bat, the opening scene is the greatest opening scene in any movie ever.
It really establishes Hans Landa as a terrifying character.
As the best villain of any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Darth Vader can go suck it. Uh, and so, fun fact about that. So Tarantino didn't know if he was ever going to be able to make this movie, and in fact, during pre-production, he almost gave up because he did not think Hans Landa was a castable character. He didn't think he was ever going to find someone that could fit the role. And he a part of it was because like the requirement of the character was even written in the script. It wasn't like it turned into something after they cast him. Now this was a requirement, was you were supposed to be able to speak 4 different languages on top of being able to act to Tarantino's standards. And he was about to give up, and then Christoph Waltz walked into the casting room and auditioned, and he could speak 4 or 5 languages fluently, and then on top of that play like such a creepy character. And that was when it just clicked for Tarantino. He was like, we're gonna fucking make this movie. And that was like kind of outside of, I'm not sure exactly where Christoph Waltz is originally from, but he was in movies like before Inglourious Basterds. But that was the movie that made him known here in America. That was like America's introduction to Christoph Waltz. And then he's in a shit ton of movies after that. I don't think he's in as many now because Green Hornet kind of tanked his career.
That was one of my favorite performances of his.
I love that movie.
That movie is phenomenal.
But a lot of people shit on it, and I think that kind of hurt his career.
I think it was Seth Rogen's fault.
But see, I
agree. I think the movie was perfect. I think Seth Rogen's the weakest part. If the people are gonna pick it apart, I think it's gonna be because of him.
I think it's because I'm such a Seth Rogen fanboy.
No, I agree. I think he was amazing. I'm speaking from somebody else's perspective.
You're being objective.
Viewer, you have to, be the mind of one. Like, what are they gonna hate?
Well, and it's always easy to hate Seth Rogen. So. But so I actually watched a video a while back breaking down the opening scene, and I took down some notes from what I could remember from it. Obviously, the when he goes in there and he asks for a glass of milk, because they like offer him like water or coffee or some sort of alcohol. He's like, well, this is a dairy farm. I want milk. That right away is kind of establishing to them that he is in charge of this situation. And then he sits down, and then he invites the guy to sit down at his own table. Again, establishing that he is in charge right now. He is the dominant figure in the room. And, what were you going to say?
Doesn't the farmer himself even ask, he's like, do you care if I also smoke my pipe? Or is it just Hans asking if he can smoke his?
I think the farmer asks.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, no, the farmer's like, do you mind if I smoke my pipe? And he's like, please, it's your home. Make yourself comfortable. And so then he goes and smokes his pipe. And then he's like, do you mind if I bring out my pipe? And then he's like, oh, go for it. And then he brings out like a pipe the size of somebody's fucking head.
Establishing dominance.
Yeah, again, establishing dominance.
Like, I have a bigger pipe, like, sorry, buddy.
And then the way they use language in this scene, it plays into the whole needing to be able to speak multiple languages. But the way he like starts off speaking French, and then and I love the way that they even explain the reason why they're about to switch to English. Is, I exhausted my French, but I understand that you're pretty fluent in English. Do you mind if we switch to English? Obviously, I think to help aid American audiences who aren't like big fans of reading subtitles for long periods of time. So let's switch to English. So now they're speaking English, and it works for the scene perfectly because they gave it a legitimate reason for speaking English in a country where that's not the primary language. And then on top of that, being able to use that against the characters hiding under the house. Because they don't speak English, so they're not freaking out right now, even though you've just given them away. Like the way they use the language is just it's so effective. And then he switches back to French to put on the facade, and he's like, "You're gonna go along with the facade." As this dude's like crying.
Yeah, I mean, he's
He goes
giving up
outside.
friends.
Yeah. And you know that shit really happened too.
Yeah, probably. And then Hans goes outside and invites the women back in.
Yeah, but see, this is one of my only issues with the movie is as somebody that's hiding under the house, you can hear the footsteps. You know what it sounds like when the women are walking around up there, and now all of a sudden you have some heavy-booted German soldiers with machine guns walking in. You can't tell the difference, and like, oh, we need to get the fuck out of here. That wasn't
The footsteps were in English, Devin.
Ah, damn. All right, you got me.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Shoshana was. I don't know. I'm gonna say it like that,
Shoshana?
but we're gonna get past this. Shoni, she definitely could tell. Like, there's a reason that she was the only one who made it. She could tell the difference.
She was like already kind of halfway out the door
Yeah.
when the gunfire started. They're all like, "Where are you going?" Just to get some air.
To get some milk.
I need to get some milk.
Top 10 things said before they never come back.
All right,
But
well, I need to get some food. I'll be right back. I'll just have my camera off.
okie doke.
Where is it at? But also, the beginning of the movie completely debunks what everybody says, and it's no great story ever started with a glass of milk.
Was that a saying?
I don't know. I saw it like once at one point, and then it had Hans below it just drinking milk.
Was that on like a shirt or something?
I don't know, Devin. This was like 4 years ago, but it just stuck with me.
I want that shirt. If that's a shirt, I want that
I'll find
shirt.
you one. I'll find you one.
Well, he just dipped out for a second here. I was gonna keep going with the Inglourious Bastards, but I want to wait for him. You watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
I did.
So I will tell you because I had already talked to Sam about this, so I can kind of go over what I had said about it with him last night. But when I first saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I did not like it. I went and saw it in theaters, and I had the I think part of the problem was I went in there expecting one thing, and I got something different.
Yeah.
Because leading up to the release of that movie, I was expecting I'd read a lot of it was about the Manson family. And so I'm sitting here thinking, "Oh, fuck yeah, Tarantino's going to do a movie about the Manson family. That's going to be pretty fucking badass." And then they were really just kind of background characters for the entirety of the movie and more just like a set piece for the time period. So and then it ended up just being a buddy comedy, and I'm like, "Oh, man. I don't know how I feel about this." And I think I was expecting like more out of it and not what it ended up being. So I remember just leaving the theater a little disappointed with that one. But I just rewatched it right before getting on here, and I actually really enjoyed it the second time.
So I think might have been I loved it. Never seen it, but the reason that you hated it, I think, is the reason that I probably liked it my first time. I knew nothing about this movie.
Right, and I think that was I put too much expectation into the movie.
I had no idea that the Manson family was involved in it. I didn't even realize that it was like I mean, I think I knew that Leonardo was an actor and his buddy was a stuntman, but other than that, like that was all I knew. I had no idea what it was about, so I wasn't expecting anything. And my mind was blown when I realized that the Manson family was involved in it. And I picked it up like part of the way through the movie. I just lost it. So it was fun for me because I was like unraveling this bigger story going on behind like the
Right.
Like for me, weirdly, it's like I feel like they were the main character, and Cliff and was it Reg, right? Or Rick?
Rick Dalton.
I wrote it down wrong the first time, but
Reggie.
yeah, no, it was something that was like I'd written down Reggie because I couldn't remember, but I feel like they were like in a way they were the main characters, but they were not the main story going on. Like I felt like they were kind of like the subplot driving like this bigger picture thing going on. Like I mean they were in a way, but I can't explain it. I know it sounds crazy, but it felt like somehow they just made the side characters the main ones, but were like and still in the movie way less.
Makes sense. I mean, I don't want to get too into it because we're gonna talk about it, but yeah, the whole ending is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. I think like my biggest thing about that I wrote down about the movie was literally the ending. No, this is it's one of my favorite movies of his, if not my favorite.
See, that's what a lot of people say, and I'm always kind of like, I don't know. Well, and there's this thing. So Tarantino has for the longest time said, I think basically since around like the Pulp
10
Fiction
movies, right?
days, 10 movies and he's done. And of course
Yeah.
he counts Kill Bill as one movie.
Yeah.
So this would be his 9th movie, and a lot of people say that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood should have been his last movie. If he just stopped with that movie, that would have been like a perfect like bookmark for his career.
No, that I agree with that actually. Thinking on the movie now, yeah, 100%. Like I don't want it to be, and I'm glad it's not. But I could see how that would have been his last project if that he wanted it to be.
Also, so did you know that Tarantino was at one point working on a Star Trek movie?
No.
So that was it was up until just like a couple of years ago. They were it was funny too because people found out he was working on a Star Trek movie, and all the Star Trek fans were like, "What? No, I don't want it. No, like he's just gonna make it a Tarantino movie in space."
Yeah.
And other people were like, "No, he's not gonna do that. Like he's gonna make like a legit Star Trek movie." And then Tarantino came out and was like, "I don't know who the hell these people are that are talking for me. I am seriously gonna just make a Tarantino movie in space." It's like there's gonna be death. It's gonna be everything you expect from one of my movies, but it's gonna be in Star Trek world. And then everyone was like, "Well, is that gonna be one of your 10 movies?" And he said that he considers like anything that he works on outside of something that's like written, directed, and like that he stamps as one of those movies. So like From Dusk Till Dawn doesn't fall into that category. If he works on an established IP at any point, that won't fall under the category of one of his movies. So we almost got a Star Trek movie made by him on top of his 10 movies. Of course, who is it that owns Star Trek? I think Paramount. They put the kibosh on that one, and now we're not going to get to see that. But I was so excited. I was, especially because it was like right around the time I was getting into like Star Trek The Next Generation and shit. And so I was like, oh my God, dude. Like, I don't even care. I'm not that attached to the source material. I am so on board with seeing Tarantino make something of Star Trek, and it was just it was funny to watch people's reaction to that.
Oh, that would have been I have no interest in Star Trek, but I would absolutely be in line to see that like midnight release.
Dude, I don't want to get on a tangent here, but I used to be like, Star Trek is some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen, because I had only seen the original. And then I walked out into the living room one day when I was living with my roommate at the time, Zave, and he was watching Next Generation, and he'd like just started an episode like kind of early on in the first season, and I was like, it was like we had just gotten dinner or something, and so he just put it on, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and I was like, oh man, we're watching Star Trek. He's like, bro, just trust me. And I'm watching it, I'm like thinking I'm just gonna eat my food and leave the room and go do something else. I ended up sitting there and watching like 4 episodes. And then every time I would go out into the living room and he was watching Next Generation, I would sit down and watch it for like a couple hours. Because Next Generation is actually pretty badass.
Huh.
I do recommend checking out maybe just like the first couple episodes, especially if you like Patrick Stewart. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's Patrick Stewart.
He's phenomenal in that show, and the characters are a lot of fun. Data is
The like weird one.
Yeah, well, he's a robot. He's an android, but he's got like he's the type of android that says shit that like if a person that wasn't an android said it, it'd be kind of like asshole-ish or sarcastic. But he says it so sincerely, and they're just like, "No, Data, that's not." And then he's just like, "Oh, okay." It's just like it plays for comedic effect really well. Now, I was kind of hoping if Tarantino was gonna make a Star Trek movie, it was gonna be with the Next Generation characters.
He should have been Data.
And oh my god, well no, if he was gonna do that, I would want the guy who played Data to come back because that dude was phenomenal. But and I'm sure whatever Tarantino would have done would have been better than what I've been hearing Picard is like. I hear Picard is complete ass.
Probably, I don't know.
All the because Paramount Plus has been putting out Star Trek shows for the last couple of years, starting with Picard, which is a continuation of Next Generation, and apparently it's just not good at all. Like everybody who watches it is like, this is not good television.
You know, but I do like Galaxy Quest though.
I haven't seen Galaxy Quest in so long, but I love Tim Allen.
Never mind. I thought that was gonna be funnier than it was. That's really depressing.
Have you seen Starship Troopers?
No. Well, like bits and pieces, but I've never sat through it. No.
That was another thing. I didn't actually watch it, but I walked out into the living room at one point, and my buddy was in the middle of it. And I saw like just some dude get completely like obliterated by this giant bug alien. And I was like, whoa, that shit looks like some shit out of a Tarantino movie. And then I was like, I gotta watch this movie at some point. So I still have that on the back burner. That's actually probably gonna be like my next movie reaction that I do on my YouTube channel is gonna be Starship Troopers. But that movie I think is probably gonna be the closest thing you get to a Tarantino movie in space.
What if his last movie is like just his own like sci-fi he goes with?
That'd be cool, but I know that he has talked about wanting to do a legit horror movie.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he'll do it. I mean, like I said before, I think Death Proof is a perfect like Tarantino dipping his toes into pun intended, dipping his toes into the horror genre. But if he does go like full like horror like slasher or something, that would be sick.
He's got to have Kurt Russell for that.
That
would have to be a role for him. Oh shit! What was I don't even remember what I was gonna say.
Also, did you know that he's been floating around the idea of doing a third Kill Bill movie for like?
Yeah, actually, I was reading something about that. Like just like 5-6 o'clock, I was going out to dinner. I was looking up stuff for Kill Bill, and I saw where there was like they had like a mock title or something at one point, but maybe I don't know. But yeah, I knew he had talked about doing a third Kill Bill, and I would love to see it. I think it'd be cool if they had Maya Hawke even be like her daughter grown up.
That's what they were gonna do, especially since she showed up. She showed up in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So they have a history now, and of course he has, like he's said before, that Uma Thurman is his muse. So it's like,
Yes.
it kind of makes sense that Maya Hawke would show up at some point in one of his movies, but he has said that if he did do another Kill Bill at this point, Maya Hawke would be the daughter, and she would probably kind of take over the role of the lead, and it would be a combination of the daughter of, I think, Black Mamba.
Yeah.
It would be her, because she's like, if you still feel some way about this when you're older, I'll be waiting. And so it'd be a combination of that girl going after her, and then we never actually see Daryl Hannah's character die. We just see her stuck in a trailer with a deadly snake with her other eye missing. So it'd be cool if she showed back up in the third one and she's got 2 eye patches.
I think she'd do that, or she would. Oh, what is the character from Star Trek? I think it's Star Trek. It's just like this wrap around sunglasses.
The visor. It's
visor?
It's Geordi. It's
Or
no, it's Next Generation.
I'll
It's
see that.
it's Geordi. He's played by what's his name? The Reading Rainbow guy.
Oh, LeVar Burton.
Yeah, LeVar Burton.
Dude,
And
what was his name? I'm sorry. I just had a moment. I need to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
do you need to sing the Reading Rainbow song? Is that what
Oh.
you're about to do?
Nope. Hold on. You're
Take
gonna
a
love
look
this.
in a book. It's Reading Rainbow.
It's like, I told Pierce 1,000
Oh,
times.
Community.
I just wanted the autograph.
I was gonna bring that
I
up.
never wanted to meet LeVar Burton. I'm on the last season.
Oh, did you start watching that?
Through it. I fell in love with that show.
I love that show so much.
That was, dude, when I didn't realize the meme of the guy running down a hallway covered in pillows was Pierce.
Yeah.
I love that show, and I think it's because Pierce reminds me so much of my grandfather. It's almost just like watching him.
When did you start watching it?
We had the stream. I drove back home. I think I watched it. I watched like the first season that night.
What?
And
Which
I just
one?
started,
The Lord of the Rings stream?
yeah, the last one we had.
Oh my
I
god!
got
Yeah,
to
you.
season 5 in like a week.
Holy shit!
I fell in love with the show. It's so good.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. He's like, the whole time he's in the room with LeVar Burton, LeVar's like, so, are you a fan of me from Reading Rainbow? And he's just like staring at him.
He's in the bathroom crying, singing the theme song.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that show is great. It definitely wasn't the same once Donald Glover left. Because Troy is like the best character on that show.
He and Abed played off each other so well.
Yeah.
And then without him, it's like half of the comedic value in that show is gone.
It's still got some good moments, but yeah, it was definitely a big hit when he left, and then they had so many issues working with Chevy Chase that they ended up firing his ass and writing him off the show.
The way they killed him off, though, I think they did him justice.
Yeah.
Dehydration.
Yeah. Oh, and okay, and since we're on the subject, the Tarantino episode.
Oh,
the one that it's like they planned the
I did a crash course. I might not remember.
They did the surprise birthday party for Abed, and they're all in a diner dressed up as characters. And then Abed's off in his own world doing dinner with Andre, which Jeff doesn't realize until like near the end of the episode. And everybody from the birthday party shows up and pierces the gimp, and he's like, "My balls are touching a zipper." That show is one of my hashtag 6 seasons and a movie. I swear to God.
Dude, there's actually Pierce's lawyer in that show played in Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name. Yeah,
Walton Goggins. He's fantastic. Goggins. I have some notes on him when we get to Hateful Eight, but everything he's in, he's fantastic.
Oh, dude, poor Garrett.
And then I love that episode too at the end when he's getting drunk at the bar with
Yeah.
him, and he's just like, "Who wants to do shots?" He's like going over the whole episode, like, "Oh my god, that moment was so beautiful. You don't understand how hard it was for me to not break character during that. I wanted to cry, man." It was just so perfect.
That yeah.
But this is not a community stream. We have Sam back.
Sorry, Sam.
We can get back into Inglorious Bastards. We put a pin in that while you went to go eat. Did you enjoy your meal?
I did. I had 1.5 grilled cheese sandwiches and some tomato soup.
That's a
Like
banging
you're
meal
stomping
right
ass.
there. Thank you for not choking on it and dying midstream either. That would have been rough. We're like sitting here waiting for you to come back. Like 2 hours goes by. We're like, is he coming back? Like,
That was fucked up.
But all right. So back to Inglorious Bastards. This is without a doubt my favorite Brad Pitt role.
Like any of his movies.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lieutenant Aldo Rain.
that's a bold statement.
Sam, are you doing something with your camera?
No, why?
Your camera keeps messing up on my OBS.
That might have been my fault. I was trying to
is.
fix something on mine.
Let's see if it happens again. But yeah, I mean, it's hard because he's really good in Fight Club, but I have a bias towards this movie, but just like everything about Brad Pitt's character in this, like Gorlami.
Arrivederci.
Because he's got like that, what is it, he's from like Tennessee or something, so he's got that like southern boy drawl, and then he's trying to do like Italian on top of it, and it's just like, yeah, arrivederci.
You think
And
he was also in 7, which I know you haven't seen yet.
You haven't seen
yeah, no,
I think you should definitely watch that.
no, I'm gonna do a reaction to that movie. I was telling him I don't know if I might do that one next, but I'm thinking Starship Troopers is probably gonna be the next one I do. You've seen Starship Troopers?
No.
Oh no, you haven't seen it. Okay. Because we were talking about Tarantino was supposed to do a Star Trek movie, and he ended up not doing it. They put a kibosh on it. I was saying Starship Troopers, from what I understand, is probably the closest thing you're going to get to a Tarantino movie in space. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if you had seen it and you could confirm that for me or not, but yeah, I don't know. I love Brad Pitt in this movie so much. All his lines are like perfect. I laugh every time he's talking. And then like his opening line. So I remember I don't remember what I was in the movie theater to see. I just remember I was in the movie theater and it was the trailers for upcoming movies before the actual movie, and all of a sudden you just hear 10 hut, and it's the Inglourious Bastards lineup, and then it's Brad Pitt's whole spiel about how when you join my platoon, you take on a debt. You each owe me 100 Nazi scalps, and I want my scalps, and you will get me my scalps. Understood? And then they're like, sir, yes, sir. And I'm like, what is this? I don't know what this is, but I want to see this. And just, yeah, like that whole moment is so badass. He got Eli Roth in the background with his like evil fucking smile as they're talking about, you know, I didn't travel 6,000 miles and jump out of a fucking aeroplane just to show Nazis some human decency. Like, I just love that whole thing. And then, yeah, you got Eli Roth as the Bear Jew, who I still think it would have been better if it was Adam Sandler, but he does a good job. He
does all right.
Yeah, I mean, some of his line delivery is a little ridiculous, but Again, it was written for Adam Sandler. Hugo Stieglitz is fucking awesome when they introduce him in that one scene where they're all like surrounding that like little tunnel and they got like the 3 German soldiers prisoner and they're trying to get info out of them, and he's like, everybody in the German army has heard of Hugo Stieglitz, and then it shows him, they're all laughing, and then it shows him and then it goes bam, and it shows like his name on screen, and then it goes into that whole like montage of him just murking Nazi generals. That dude is literally BJ Blazkowicz from the Wolfenstein games, particularly the new ones, the Bethesda ones. Have either of you guys played those?
No.
Just imagine a video game where you're Hugo Stieglitz. That's what those games are. And the second one goes even more ridiculous because like the first one, yeah, you're Hugo Stieglitz, and then the second one, you're Hugo Stieglitz after he's been thrown out of a down like the tunnel Darth Maul fell down in Phantom of the Menace, and somehow he gets rescued and he's like basically dead, but his like friends revive him and give him the body of a robot. So now you're Hugo Stieglitz if he had a fucking robot body with like weapons in his arms and shit. Like, it gets ridiculous, but you're just like this big, strong German dude with a big old dimple in his chin running around murking Nazis left and right. And it's just, yeah, every time I see him, I think of Wolfenstein because BJ Blazkowicz and Hugo Stieglitz are like the same guy. You also have Hirschberg is played by Sam Levine, who was he was in Freaks and Geeks. I don't know if either of you have seen Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
He was the nerdy kid that was always doing the impressions. And then BJ Novak from The Office.
Yeah.
Like, some of these guys, like, you would not expect to see Ryan from The Office show up killing Nazis. And he's one of the only characters that survives to the end.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually go to Miami, Ohio.
He goes to Nazi
He went
Germany.
to Nazi Germany.
Time traveled and went and joined the American Army for World War II.
Yeah. The bowling alley was a front. Oh, no, it's like it's the Stephen King book. Like, the burger place is a front. It's actually the teleporter in the back where he went, fought the Nazis. But it's the bowling alley. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's also funny, too, because I was thinking about, like, where in The Office, like, Ryan's story would have been when this movie came out. And this would have been before, like, they really turned Ryan into a hardcore douchebag. Because, like, as the series progressed, Ryan became, like, worse and worse. But this is, like, 2009 when this movie came out. So Ryan was still kind of, like, a serious character in The Office. So I don't know if that had anything to do with why they cast him. Because he was, like, the serious foil for Steve Carell for the first couple seasons. But...
well, he's loyal. He was always loyal to Aldous, so.
And also, he is probably useful in a war scenario because Ryan started the fire.
He actually just worked his way up in like the Third Reich just to get them with misleading the stockholders. He just basically sent Germany to financial failure, and that's how the war ended.
I also like that Sam Jackson, he doesn't actually show up in this movie, but he does narration for the movie.
Yep.
It's like it's one of the only movies that he doesn't show up in. He's not in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at all. Like, not even narrating. And I think that's the first time that's happened in, like, Tarantino's whole filmography. I think since Pulp Fiction, he's been in every single movie in one way or another. But Reservoir Dogs he wasn't in, and now Once Upon a Time in Hollywood he wasn't in. But he found a way to fit him in, even to Inglourious Bastards.
Huh.
Oh, also tying into the way language is used in the movie. I love when Shoshana is getting like kind of pestered by what's his name from Winter Soldier?
Zoller is Frederick.
Yeah, Frederick Zoller. What was his name? Zemo?
Yeah, Zemo. Yeah. He's always German.
Yeah.
He's always like a German Nazi.
But when she's being pestered by him and the Germans like ID him in the cafe she's in and they start talking to him, she doesn't know German, so there's no subtitles while they're talking. I think that's like an excellent use of like playing off of that she doesn't know German. So Sam, move around a little bit. I don't know, there's something going on here with your camera. You're a little bit laggy.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what's going on here.
Do that.
Okay, now you're good, I think. You're also massive on my OBS now. I gotta shrink you back down.
It's all part of my plan.
There we go. Did either of you? I'm like the only one that's saying anything about this movie.
Sorry,
Either of you guys?
I have another foot thing about the movie, if that counts. Bridget, and she foot got shot, and then Hans is like, "Well, let me see your foot," because he found the shoe, and it's just another feet.
Well, yeah, it's. I was while I was rewatching it, I was like, wait. Is there not a single shot of a woman's foot in this movie? And then, it's that scene.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all the feet shots are of, like, boots of soldiers and stuff. But, yeah. What's her name? Bridget von Hammersmark, but the actress...
Oh,
I can't remember it off the... Yeah. Which I don't think I've seen her in anything else that I can think of off the top of my head. National Treasure.
That's her?
Yeah. That's right.
So most of my stuff, or like what I want to talk about, is near the end of the movie more than anything.
Okay.
So.
Well, I have one more thing written down here, and it's about casting, because I'm kind of going on a tangent about the casting. But this is my favorite Mike Myers role in this movie.
Out of everything he's done, it's like that little snippet.
I absolutely hate Mike Myers in almost everything outside of Shrek. So
even
when
Bohemian Rhapsody,
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, he's pretty good in that.
And that's the one thing I've noticed. Is it seems like in recent years, like starting with this, he's been taking like more serious roles.
Mm-hmm. Well, he probably wanted to get away from Cat in the Hat.
To be
fair.
I've learned something interesting about Cat in the Hat that I did not know. I learned it from, if you remember Jason, he was part of the training team when we were in Marietta. He said apparently Cat in the Hat is a very iconic movie for the gay community. Because Cat in the Hat is a gay man in that movie.
Is he?
According to Jason,
but
I don't know.
But he gets turned on by the mother in the beginning.
Dude, I don't know. This is what Jason was telling me.
Jason, I got words with him. I'm curious.
Dude, I haven't talked to him.
He's bi.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember he was like, gay people love Cat in the Hat, and there's a lot of reasons why. And then he like told me some of them, and I was like, huh, I didn't know. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know, this just like brief moment of Mike Myers not being an insane person, really kind of it just, I was like, all right, I can deal with this. I like this. So that's why it's not like I'm like oh my god, have you seen Mike Myers in this movie? But out of all the stuff he's done outside of Shrek, yeah, it's my favorite role of his. He is about to be in this new movie coming up, though, called Amsterdam. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for that. It's got Christian Bale and Margot Robbie. It's like about these three friends in Amsterdam that just kind of like, they're like two war veterans and a nurse. They just kind of run away to Amsterdam together, and they vow to just like watch out for each other no matter what. And then they get tied up in some like murder mystery that they got to try and solve. And the cast is ridiculous. It's got like Chris Rock, Michael Shannon, Mike Myers shows up, Robert De Niro's in it. Like the cast is ridiculous. Rami Malek from Mr. Robot and Bohemian Rhapsody. There's just like there's a bunch. Oh yeah, Until Dawn. I love that game. But yeah, there's just like a bunch of people in this movie, and it looks like that might be a more substantial role for Mike Myers. That's like more on the serious side.
I mean, it sounds like a good movie. I'll probably check it out.
I would recommend watching the trailer. It's just the trailer's awesome. Christian Bale's like got a glass eye, and there's like a scene where he's like, "How did you know it was me?" And they're like, "Well, there's not a whole lot of people in Amsterdam that fit the description of a white army veteran looking for his glass eye on the ground." And he's just like, "Oh, you got me there." But okay, so I referred to this movie as Tarantino's masterpiece, and I think Tarantino also considers this his masterpiece. Now, this may not be the case anymore. I don't know if his opinion has changed since making this movie, but there's this movie is, of course, another celebration of cinema. It's not so blatant as some of his other movies, but it does have a lot of talk of German cinema, especially during the war era. And I mean, there's literally a character who's a film critic, and another character who's an actress, and another character who owns a movie theater. So this movie does still celebrate cinema in a lot of ways. And there's like a conversation at one point where Zoller states, he's like, Zoller talks about how what was it? Nation's Pride might be Goebbels' masterpiece.
Sure.
And then, what's his name? I'm blanking on the actor's name. The British agent.
Michael Fassbender?
Michael Fassbender's character is like getting quizzed by Mike Myers' character about movies, and he brings up how one of the films they're talking about is like considered the one guy's masterpiece. And then of course you have the final line in the movie, which is Aldo Rain after he digs the swastika into Hans Landa's forehead. He says, I think this just might be my masterpiece. I feel like these are all subtle hints, and then that last one is a very meta comment about how Tarantino believed that this script, when he wrote it, was his masterpiece, to the point where he didn't think he was going to ever be able to really make the movie the way he wanted to. And then, of course, he met Christoph Waltz, and the rest was history. But at least up until like around the time this movie came out, he considered this to be his masterpiece of work. He's released a few more movies since then, so I don't know where he stands with that now, but
honestly, because I don't know if this is just some people like started speculating on, but didn't he like, originally write this script like viewing himself as Aldo, or like wanting to play that part?
You said what?
Didn't Tarantino like originally write the script for Bastards like wanting to play the part of Aldo? Like
I don't know.
Viewed himself. I thought it was something like that. It could just be something people just started saying, but that was like another part where it's like he wanted himself to be looking into the camera saying it.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I don't think I've ever heard that, but I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He's in like all his movies at some point, but he was not in Inglourious Bastards. I almost feel like,
I think he was.
was he?
I think so.
Oh yeah.
I was looking it up, and he's mentioned in the cast. Hold on.
It's not anything like his other parts though.
I was gonna say because I like the only movie that I actually like him showing up in is Pulp Fiction as Jimmy. Outside, all his other cameos almost just feel like when I see him show up, it's like, oh, it's a Tarantino cameo instead of it being a character in the movie. Even when he's the bartender in Death Proof, I'm like, oh, it's Tarantino as a bartender. It's not whatever
Django.
character he said. Well, Django, he was literally in it for just like a couple minutes,
but I mean-
then I guess that one kind of worked. But when he's like front and center, and he even like I did like him in From Dusk Till Dawn, but it's hard for me to not look at him as just Quentin Tarantino instead of one of the brothers. But that's just me. So if he showed up in Inglourious Bastards as Aldo Rain, I don't know how that would have affected my opinion of this movie.
Were you gonna reveal
I just
it?
looked it up. Apparently, he was the first scout Nazi, I think.
Yeah. I saw that too. I was like, oh, yeah, you are right. He's just like face down the entire time. So unless you know him by his scalp.
Oh wait, he's the first one to get scalped when they're like,
I think so, yeah.
okay. Wow, that's really a hidden cameo there.
But yeah, no. So like I said, I want to talk more about the end of the movie. One, I just want to point out the like the gauntlet guns that they had in the theater. That
Oh
didn't
my
look
God.
activated by
Those
punching.
are
That
awesome.
scene slow mo. It was so good. 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, I that's one of my favorite moments in the whole movie right there. Uh-oh. He's getting attacked. He's under attack. He's being mugged by somebody. And they just start like punching each other. Dude, that'd be crazy. It'd be like a Tarantino movie. There's just like all of a sudden shots fired.
Yep. And then next it's me, and then you.
Beck just like gets blown back. Blood going everywhere.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We were saying that it was like all of a sudden like you get into a fight with that person.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, it was just so graceful. Like just the whole thing, just like a one swoop, bam.
Well,
he was down.
That's one of my favorite moments of the movie because he's like, once I get to that door, you have like 8 seconds. Can you make it? He's like, I have to. I just love
There's no
that.
other option. He's like, yeah. The overkill on Hitler too. I mean, Tarantino just, like face zoom, and then he's just getting blown to pieces.
Well, and this was the because like the whole movie when I watched it the first time, I remember thinking, well, somehow this goes wrong, and they don't actually pull it off because obviously we know Hitler killed himself in a bunker, so there's no way that this plan goes well and they actually kill Hitler. And then when they're gunning him down and turning him into Swiss cheese, I was like, holy shit! And then I realized, oh, they're not basing this off historical events or anything. They're not going with historically accurate, like working this story into real events. They're just doing their own thing. And that was the first movie in Tarantino's like revisionist of history trilogy. Because then the next one was Django, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I love that ending. I can't believe it took me this long to understand why the final act is called Revenge of the Big Face. but it finally clicked on me. She's
There you
like,
go.
this is the face of the Jew that did it. And then it's like her face laughing over all of them as they're all just getting burnt alive and gunned down. Like, also, I couldn't
There's
help.
also explosives. Too.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think, like, man, after this movie came out, shootings in movie theaters kind of went up. I wonder if that had anything to do with
But
this.
fires didn't.
No, not the fire.
So I'm gonna say no.
But yeah, I love that scene. But my favorite scene of the whole movie is the basement scene. The basement scene is like the most tense moment in the movie. When they're all in the basement, they think that it's going to be empty, and then there's a bunch of German soldiers in there, so they got to play it cool. And then the one German general or whatever his rank is there, and he kind of interjects, and then he sits down at the table with them, and then the whole three kerfuffle where he's like, 3 whiskeys, and then the dude's just like looking at him weird from then on. And I love that because then he's like, he cocks his gun, he's like, you hear that? That's my Luger pointed at your balls. And he's like, why do you have that pointed? And he's like, because you gave yourself away. And he's like, well, that makes 2 of us. I've had my gun pointed at you since you sat down. And then Hugo is just like, boom, right into his lap. And he's like, that makes 3 of us. And then he's like, say Auf Wiedersehen to your Nazi balls. Pop, pop. And then it just turns into like the most quick, bloodiest fucking gunfight I've ever seen in a movie. Like, so many people die in a matter of like 20 seconds. And there's just so much happening on screen in that amount of time. It's just, I absolutely love everything about that scene. And then what follows up right afterwards with the whole Mexican standoff thing. And he's like, you would have to have guns on me to be a Mexican standoff. He's like, no, you have guns pointed at me. You shoot me, they throw grenades down. Boom, you're dead. Mexican standoff. Yeah, I just, that whole thing is just perfect.
I did have one gripe. When he did the 3, the bartender didn't even look at him. Wasn't even looking at him. So he didn't even need to do like a hand signal.
Well, sometimes you just do that just cause.
Like, I get a small box. Like,
Yeah.
you both. Like, you don't choose one.
What is a oh, I see, because you made the hand thing. I know what it is now. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. For sure. But yeah. I also like that scene where they're debating switching the venue to Shoshana's movie theater, and she's like, she's not at all interested in the conversation, but she's going along with it because she really doesn't have a choice. And then that fucking music starts, and they're like, Landa! And it just like pans up and shows Hans Landa standing over her. And then it like does the flashback of her running away. It is just like so fucking terrifying. And then he sits down and talks to her, and he orders a glass of milk. And you know right then and there, he fucking knows who she is. And then he's just playing with her. He's like, there was one other thing, but I, for the life of me, can't remember what it was. So it must have not been important. And
Yep.
And then he walks away, and she just has this like huge sigh of relief and starts crying. Like, everything about that scene is just so tense, and just, he is so perfect in that role as a villain.
So my favorite scene of the whole movie, it's whenever they drop off Hans and like his 2 lackeys, and they're about to take him, like handcuff him, take their weapons, and they're stripping them, and then they shoot the 2 guys and they drag him off. And he's like, you're gonna get fired for this. He's like, nah. He's like, I'll get chewed out. Chewed out before. That kills me every time, and I appreciate it because he really just like, nah, could not be bothered.
Oh, and I love that too, because it's like, oh, that they got him. They're sitting down in front of him as he's like trying to work out a deal, and he's like, well, I like my nickname, and I respect your nickname. And then he's like, is that why? But You know, he says something to BJ Novak about how they call him the little man.
Yes.
Apache and the little man. He's like, my nickname is the little man.
It's such a Ryan nickname.
and then yeah, he works out his deal, and then Aldo's like, yeah, you take that deal. He's like, yeah, I'd take that deal. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. However, I bet when you get to that nice little piece of land in Nantucket, you're gonna take off that fancy SS uniform. Oh man, yeah, dude, I fucking love this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, also in that scene when he's talking to them and he's like negotiating, I also like how he pours them glasses of wine, but they have their hands tied behind their backs. Like they can't.
Courtesy thing.
Are they supposed to like kind of just lean down and
Yeah.
grab it with their teeth?
Well, no, you got to do the suction on the lips because if you get your mouth around it, then you have to like try to swallow with your mouth open. That's just awkward. You gotta do... But that's my theory on it.
But yeah, that was pretty much what I had on that movie. I don't know if you guys want to add anything.
No?
So I'm very excited to get to Hateful Eight.
Okay, so this is the one that you hadn't watched before.
I have not. No, I
In
was
fact,
fresh into it.
Sam, I don't think you were around for the conversation because you went to karaoke, but me and Beck ended up talking for like another 3 hours after the stream ended for Lord of the Rings.
It was
and
crazy.
and I honestly wish I had recorded it because that would have been a whole nother episode of the podcast. It would have worked. But
A lot of the stuff we talked about, and then try to do like a spin-off onto it.
But he mentioned that he refused to watch this movie for the longest time. Do you want to fill him in on why?
Yeah, no. So Kurt Russell destroyed like a 145-year-old Martin guitar in the movie, and it made me so mad because at the time, like I was like 15, 16. I was learning how to play like different stuff. I love music, and I was like, this is such a crime to the community. I refused to watch it, and I'm a very spiteful person. I was probably like 17 or 18. I'm like, I just haven't watched it at this point. I'm like, and now it's just a matter. I'm like, it's about the principle. I'm like, I have refused to do it, so I'm just gonna stand by it. I'm a spiteful asshole. Like, I won't give in. And I had an old.
And then you got pressured into it.
Yeah, I had an old coworker who was always like, oh, he's like, you love all these movies. Like, why don't you watch it? And he just ragged on me, and he's gonna hate me that he's not the reason I ended up watching it.
Yep.
Well, it's like me with Lord of the Rings. Like for the longest time, I refused to watch it again, and then this podcast forced me into watching it. So,
But I loved this. It was. I'm mad at myself that I've deprived myself for like the last 6 years, 7 years since it's come out.
Yeah, it was like 7 years. I remember I went and saw this movie in theaters when it came out, and it was the first like 3 hour plus movie that I did not go to the bathroom once during.
Ooh. Oh yeah, it's weak. That's weak going to the bathroom in a movie. You hold it.
I hate it, but I also hate having to pee for the last like 45 minutes of a movie because it just like detracts from my enjoyment of the movie. That didn't happen.
And watch it. You have to like fight.
That never happened during this movie. This movie was so entertaining from beginning to end, and a lot of people complain about it being like boring because there's so much dialogue.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's if you enjoy Tarantino's style of writing, it's everything you love from his movies.
Yeah.
And I can't rag on the movie for just being talking because again, like the last one we did, where Lord of the Rings is just a long ass conversation.
Right.
I have no right to hate the movie because of that.
So did you have a particular thing you wanted to start off with, Beck, since you love this movie so much?
Ooh, dude, I don't know. I don't know what I would start off with.
Well, Kurt Russell opening up.
Oh, dude, they don't hesitate. He just starts beating this woman.
Yeah,
that was Daisy Mongu.
Domergue.
Yeah, like I was so surprised by that. I'm like, I shouldn't have been, but it just continues to happen, and it's really just They told him like just try to keep it fresh every time, like just hit her.
I love that moment when he fucking like pistol whips her and he's like, "How you like the sound of them bells, bitch?"
Yeah.
And that's Jennifer Jason Leigh. She's awesome in everything I've seen her in. She was in Weeds. Actually, there's two actors in this movie that are in Weeds. So she was the main character's sister, and then Mexican Bob was this like Mexican drug cartel lord in Weeds. So there are two actors from Weeds in there. But Jennifer Jason Leigh has shown up in a whole bunch of stuff in the last few years. She was in the 3rd season of Twin Peaks. Her and Tim Roth actually they were like a couple in the 3rd season of Twin Peaks. That was kind of funny to see them work together after this movie. But yeah, I think she's so great as just like a horrible person throughout this whole movie. But most of them are horrible people in this movie. I mean, a lot of his movies are just horrible people, but particularly in this one, they're all just like god awful.
Ironically, the one who I thought was going to be the worst wasn't.
Walton Goggins?
Mannix.
Oh, the old dude?
No, Chris, the sheriff of Red Rock. He was one of the rebel.
Yeah, Walton Goggins.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying the character. Yeah.
Walton Goggins' character.
Ironically, the character I thought I was gonna hate the most and was gonna be like the biggest POS ended up being one of the better ones. At least like character arc wise.
Yeah, well, and that I think was definitely intentional. He like set him up when he wrote the script. He set him up to be a character that from the get-go, he's a racist. I mean, they're all dropping the N-bomb pretty frequently in this, but him in particular, and he's like talking about how like all the black people need to be under the boot of the rebel South, otherwise they're a rowdy bunch, this and that, and it's just like he sets him up with the dialogue that this is not a guy that you're gonna want to root for, and then by the end of the movie he's like the guy to root for. Him and Samuel Jackson's character working together.
Yep. You definitely see this guy who's almost like a character of or he's a product of his environment, and everybody just pegged him as that from like day one, and now he's like he's like becoming a better person in a sense, or like trying to be not better but trying to change. Like he was
he's just he's just in that situation, and he's trying to like out of everybody he's the one that's just there trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the moment, versus like John Ruth is like, someone here isn't who they say they are, and we gotta figure out who it is, and he doesn't even clue him in. But then when shit starts popping off, he's like right on board, like something's going on, and he's trying to just kind of piece it together as he goes. Like he's just all about like just being in the moment and doing what he thinks is like best in that moment. And it just so happens that it falls in line with our I don't know if anybody's really a hero, but definitely goes against our villains of the movie. Who?
Minnie.
Oh. Oh, well, and okay, so there was one thing I had written down in I don't know where my eraser just went, but in the notes I had for Death Proof, Zoe Bell, every movie of his that she shows up in, even if she's playing a character, that character is from Auckland, New Zealand. Every single time.
Yeah, but what was I going to say? In the beginning of the movie, I think one of the best parts to me, I think it was really funny, is when they have to open up the door, and it's that, we see like 3 times where they kick open the door, everybody's screaming, like, you gotta nail it shut! And Bob's like, well, there's wooden planks by the door, and or wooden nails, and then they're like, close it, do the one board, and they're like, you got to do a second one. It's not gonna hold. Like that first person gets through hazing, and then they're berating the next group of people to come through the door like it's common knowledge.
Well, and I love Michael Madsen. A lot of the time, you just hear him. You don't actually see him. He's like, you gotta close the goddamn door. You gotta use 2 fucking nails. It's fucking
like,
great.
You don't see him initially when you walk in. It's just the Sanders and then whoever else, and he's just in the background screaming like Howard's mother from Big Bang Theory. And then it finally, like, Bob and Samuel Jackson's character walk in, and they're like, "Well, who's the idiot that busted the door?" And he's like, "Just put the board up there. Closed."
So I had written this down. I watched the extended edition that's on Netflix. So it's like broken up into 4 parts. Honestly, I mean, I remembered more of this movie than I thought I did. But I couldn't really tell what was like added stuff versus was in the original. I think there was like a scene where John Ruth notices there's like an unplucked chicken, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And Bob's like, "It's a chicken." He's like, "Yeah, it's not fully plucked. Pluck the goddamn chicken." And he like forces Bob to pluck the rest of this chicken. Was that in the version you guys watched?
No.
Okay, so yeah, it's funny though because that actually there's when they do the flashback and Minnie's there and stuff. There's a woman sitting on that bench at the piano plucking a chicken, and so it was from that. So I think that was just an added thing. But there's I don't know if this was in the original version or not. But when Samuel Jackson's character is trying to get his bodies up on the top of the wagon, he's like, well, I need to get my bodies up on the wagon before we can start moving. It'd move a hell lot faster if you were to help me out. And John's like, I'm handcuffed to her. She's not getting a handcuff from me. She's staying by my side until we get to Red Rock. So you're gonna have to ask so and so to the driver to help you out with that. And so then he goes and he's trying to negotiate with the driver. He makes a deal with him. If he helps him get the bodies up, he'll like pay for all the shit in Red Rock, and then he'll also give him like $200. And then the dude's like, well, if you want me to help you with that, you're gonna need him to hold on to these horses for me. So then he's got to go back and talk to John more about holding the horses. And at a certain point, I was like, this feels like a quest out of like Fallout with like skill checks and like bartering and shit. I don't know if that was just like part of the extended edition, added that shit in that made it feel more like that. But yeah, it was like, it just like there's a new task getting added on every time he interacts with a character, and it's just to do this one simple thing, and then he's got to like barter with the guy, and his speech skill was high enough he convinced him to go at a lower price, like shit like that. But yeah, that was just something I had written down. I also noticed, because the credits, since the extended edition is broken up into 4 parts, the credits roll at the end of each one of them. I did not realize Greg Nicotero was tied to this. He was the one that did all the special makeup effects for this movie, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, it should, because he's the guy who does like all the zombie work on The Walking Dead since season 1, and he's also the guy who did a lot of the Deadites for Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. He was like the lead guy for the makeup work on both of those. So I don't know how extensive his role was with the first one. I don't know. I don't think he really had any involvement in the first Evil Dead, but definitely Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness he was heavily involved with. And it just so happens he also did all the special makeup effects for Hateful Eight. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that before.
Damn.
Also, did anyone else notice this? Mannix hands, so he wants to read the guy who's claiming to be the hangman of Red Rock. He wants to read the dude's execution papers. So he hands him execution papers and they trade. So he hands him his papers and Mannix hands the dude his coffee so he can read them. And while he's reading this, the dude that's holding his coffee starts drinking the coffee. And then once he's done reading it, he gives him the coffee back, and then Mannix starts drinking his coffee again. And it's like, I don't know if that was like a continuity error or that was intentional. Like the dude just didn't give a fuck. He was just going to drink his coffee because he's actually a gang member. I don't know if that was like, I don't know what the deal with that was. It was a funny little thing I picked up, so I wrote it down.
Christ. No, that's a West thing. That's gotta be, right? It's just, they did that shit back then. They only had like one cup for the camp. So they just gotta share it.
I think probably my favorite part about this movie is it basically all took place at the haberdashery.
Yeah.
It's just like one room.
Well,
Just a bunch of people in it.
and fun fact about that is for that whole filming, that was on, I think, like a soundstage that they had built the cabin or the haberdashery. They built that on a soundstage, and the soundstage was built like a walk-in cooler, like you would have at a restaurant, and they had it turned down really low. So the actors for the entirety of filming this were in like freezing temperatures, and Tarantino wouldn't let them like just go warm up or anything. They were stuck in those temperatures for the filming of the movie. Like from the minute you walk on set to the minute you go home for the day, you're in like this cold ass box. Just kind of added to it, I feel like.
Yeah.
The desperation of wanting to get warm.
Well, it's like this movie's like a spiritual successor to The Thing.
It is. It really is.
I was reading because I was looking up stuff after the movie, and that was like one of the taglines, like a post or whatever, because it was all about that not isolation, but just
the not trusting anybody and trying to figure out
like
who
the
it is.
paranoia, but what's the like the claustrophobia? Like you feel like very claustrophobic because you're like you are trapped in that one area, and it is a whodunit, like who's the who's the rat.
Also, fun fact about this movie: this was originally a sequel to Django. So this was written as a sequel to Django, and then somewhere around like 2014, the script got leaked online, and it absolutely infuriated Tarantino to the point where he was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to make another movie again. This is bullshit. I'm really upset with the way that the fan, like if you're a fan of mine, you wouldn't do this. This is just ridiculous. But the script leaked onto the internet. So what he did was he had like a live action reading of the script. Like he had just like he rented out a stage somewhere, sold tickets to it for like some charity event, and had actors reading the script in like a live table read. And then once they were done with that, I don't know if they did this before or after he rewrote the script, but then he rewrote the script and took Django completely out of the script. Because originally Django was supposed to be the hero of this, and it was supposed to be we're following Django in this crazy situation, and he's trying to figure out who did it. And then he had to kind of rework the script, and I think he wrote a new character. And there is an Easter egg to Django. Django's corduroy jacket is hanging up in the corner of the haberdashery as a nod to that. But yeah. That was, and I'm to this day I'm a little saddened that we didn't get that version of the movie, but I almost feel like it's a better movie because it's not tied to Django so directly. But I don't know, because I love Django so much.
We have like comics that like continuing the story of Django.
Is there?
Yeah, it's like Django and Zorro. I swear, it's something like that. To where like they didn't do like the movie sequel, but there is like a continuation of his story.
Well,
he ends up becoming like hunted, and because of everything that happened to Candyland.
Okay, I was gonna say, is it Tarantino's Django or the Django that Django's based off of? Because Django's based off of an old like spaghetti western character. In fact, the guy who played Django back in the day, he has a small cameo in Django. When they're doing the Mandingo fights and you meet Candy, Django's like standing at the bar And this dude comes up and he's like, "What's your name, boy?" And he's like, "Django." And he's like, "Can you spell that?" And he's like, "Dgango. The D is silent." And the guy's like, "I know." That's the guy who used to play Django back in the day. So it's like a cool little moment.
Yeah.
No,
but that's what I was
more about that Django, because Tarantino paired up with like a comic book author and like or illustrator to like write these books.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Mm-hmm. But
it's probably better that it went that route anyway, because then Hateful Eight was able to breathe a little more and be like a very fresh story with fresh characters.
you might still have that guitar though. You might have still had the guitar.
You gotta let that go. Now I do wanna ask. I know we talked about this a little bit, and you've maybe had some more time to think about this, and now you've seen the movie. Do you think Tarantino did that intentionally?
If he did, none of the cast was in on it, obviously.
No.
Because like her reaction was so genuine. Because like you can hear in her voice, like it's not character like that, like not her character.
Well, she broke there for a second.
Yeah, and she like looked like offset at all the crew.
And you can see where they stopped, because like there's like that a next immediate cut where they're sitting down back at the table or whatever. You can tell like that's when shit went down, is in between that edit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would not put it past Tarantino to have done that accidentally, or like on purpose. But
yeah, I feel like it may have been one of those things where he knew, like, if he just left that information out of the hands of Kurt Russell, that would happen, and he'd get like a super genuine moment out of it. And Tarantino seems like the type of guy that would let some shit like that happen just for the reaction.
I was also thinking, if they did the Django sequel, how would they fit Samuel L. Jackson in it?
Well, I almost wonder if that wasn't the role of Django. So instead of him, it would have been that John Ruth rolled up and found Django in the middle of the road, and Django would have been the one that needed the ride.
Yeah.
And then Walton Goggins' character would have been like, well, he's the guy who murdered all these guys at Candyland, instead of whatever the backstory for.
He was also in Django.
Yeah, he was.
I know, that's what I was saying.
He wouldn't have been the sheriff.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how they would have worked that in. I mean, he could have just played a different character, but I don't know.
Or they could have had him do the narration, because there was a little bit of that.
Oh yeah. Well, and that was Tarantino's cameo in Hateful Eight, was the narrator. He was the one that was like, while they were having a discussion, somebody poisoned the coffee.
I don't know about you guys, but after they showed that, I was looking at everybody's gloves trying to see if like only one person had black gloves or not. Well, this is a lost cause. Yeah, no. I have no beef with this movie.
I love how John starts like taking everybody's guns. He's like, I'm gonna have to take your gun, and then he like just dismantles them, puts them in a bucket, and is like, hey, go flush these. Dude, you got me fucked up. You trying to flush my pistol. He's like, the best I can do is replace it when we get to Red Rock. It's like, what if that had sentimental meaning to me? You're gonna have to fucking kill me for my pistol, bro. Like,
yeah. Why can't you just hold the bucket?
Yeah.
Yeah, like seriously, it's like, how quickly, like, are you that slow and that bad of a shot that they could rebuild their revolver, load it, and then
Right.
at that point you deserve to die. Oh, what'd you?
I also loved after that scene.
Oh, sorry, Sam, you go.
I also loved after that scene, the guy who took him out and came back. He's like,
oh yeah,
I am never going out in that shit again.
He literally,
And then like he goes back out.
he got sent out there like 3 times.
Yeah.
He comes back. I love he just grabs the bear pelt and just curls up on the floor in front of the fire. He's like, well, OB. He's like, you want some stew? He's like, stew? Oh, later. What do you think about the little feud between Sam and I want to call him Colonel Sanders. It was General Sanders that they had both fought at. What was the battlefield or whatever it was?
I don't remember the name of the battlefield. I just remember the story he tells.
Ooh, shit. I love their whole little like interaction. Like not that one, but even them just meeting and it's like, oh, they fought at the exact same battle, and then they get that little wholesome moment almost. And he's like, we fought on the same field. He's like, would you deny me that?
Silent Night's playing. Bob's playing Silent Night on the fucking piano.
I feel like that was not scripted, but like I know he just doesn't like allow that kind of shit. But it's just so funny to think that the actor actually just kept fucking up and then like restarting and like, kept the entire thing in. You know, it was nice. So they were talking about it. Like the guy was actually like speaking to him, and then it was too good. Like you don't have that moment ever.
And then it followed it up with, "Oh yeah, I made your son suck my dick in the cold for a blanket."
Yeah, gave him that blanket.
Yeah, dude.
He's like, I know you, boy.
So
like,
now this is
the day he died.
This is another question I have: is do you guys think that story was true, or he was just trying to get him to pick up the pistol? So he told him what he knew would trigger him.
I mean, I could see him doing it, but I think he's probably just doing it to rile him up.
I wanna say it's real because it's like the only one of his stories we see like flashbacks for.
But
like,
we have
really? Right?
We have gotten. There has been an established fact that he is kind of a liar because he lied about the Lincoln letter. So I wonder if that wasn't supposed to set him up as a man who tells stories to kind of get what he needs out of a situation. And so this was just another one of the stories he kind of made up. Mm-hmm. He's a really good storyteller to get this dude to pick up a pistol so that he could kill him and not be legally responsible.
You know, I took all of that into account. I don't know, something about like they took the time to visualize it, and I was like, maybe it is the one that's just messed up enough to be true.
Yeah, I'm on the side of I think he actually did do it, but I have considered the idea that maybe it wasn't true. But that's one of those things that I think you can go either way with it and it works.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing, a lot of people that don't like the movie, I know that their biggest issue with it is that they set it up as a whodunit with these 8 characters. And then there's a fucking 9th character under the fucking building the whole time, just hiding out, and they're like, that defeats the whole premise of the movie. Like you just took the concept and completely shat on it and threw in this extra wild card character that was not part of this, and I don't know. I don't have a problem with it, but I can see how people would take issue with it.
Did you? Yeah. I lost it when I found out who that was.
Channing Tatum.
Oh my god, I wasn't expecting it to be him. Like out of everyone, it could have been like, I was not expecting Channing Tatum to pop out of that floorboard. After he was whenever he spoke Spanish, he was like so like the accent on it, just like those couple words they used were so good. I thought it was just like another Hispanic person. I didn't.
Did you know he was in the movie?
No, I had no idea. That's why it was baffled me when he popped out of the floor. But like it was another "This Is the End" kind of cameo for me.
Sup, guys?
I love him. Call him Channing Tate Young.
Oh, and I love that there's so many moments in this movie where a character just kind of like fucking tosses their coffee out of their mug, like it just in a random direction in the haberdashery. No, there's no sink or anything. You just right over your shoulder.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where it lands.
Oh yeah, speaking like throwing things or like tossing it out. She's just laughing next to Kurt Russell, and he just throws a stew into her face.
Yeah.
Wiping it off. Just an unnecessary and little insult.
And then soon afterwards, you get like one of the gnarliest deaths in the movie where he's vomiting out just like buckets of blood. and then he fucking vomits all over her. And it literally reminded me of that moment from Mandy when he like cuts into that one demon thing's throat and all the blood starts spraying on his face and he's just like smiling through it and just like laughing like she did the same shit.
Poor OB, man. He was just a driver.
Yeah.
A driver.
And then fucking Bob got fucking obliterated. He's like,
he used so many bullets.
he's like, what do you say? Like five rounds, 4 rounds, and Bob is gone. He's just like completely turned his face into jelly.
Oh, dude, the whole build up to him like unraveling how he knew he was full of it. He's like, and I know that was mini stew. And he's like,
Yeah.
and then you know that sign over in the corner. He's like, what it said on. He's like, and you know why she took it down? Because she started letting dogs in. And he started getting racist too. And I was like, damn. There's just no, you know. No, I loved his like monologue. Not the one with the old guy, but just like him standing there and just like going through every single person, and then Mannix, she's just like, yeah, like this one, he's like, I bet it's Joe Gage. I knew it. He's like, it's got to be the ugly one.
And I love how it's surprise, it's all of them, and then like what's his name, Mowbray fucking turns around and shoots Mannix, and then it just turns into a whole thing. My biggest complaint with the movie though is there's the moment when Samuel Jackson's on the bed and he's like, he runs out of rounds and he's like, Mannix, throw me it's all in slow-mo.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Mannix and Daisy like talking for a minute and like negotiating, and then it cuts back to Samuel and he's like, you gonna side with this bitch? It's like, you can stop. You could have stopped the slow mo after the. Why are you still doing this? Like the slow mo just lasted a little bit too long in that moment for me. But that's just a personal gripe I had with that moment.
According to Sam Jackson and his role in Django, he should have died so quickly.
What? Oh, in this movie or in Django?
In Hateful Eight, because he got shot in the balls. And he told Django the reason they weren't going to clip him is because that's too good of a death. You bleed out like 2-3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And he was alive for a good while after that. I'm like, he should have died by his own like statistics.
Well, he didn't lose. Yeah. I imagine he didn't lose all his testicles. He just had a hole in them.
Did you see what 2 of those bullets did to a face?
This is true.
No, they were blown. They were gone. I don't think Tarantino ever misses. He always gets both.
No, I love that. And then they're like talking to Jody for a minute, and then he just fucking shoots him. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I made the decision for him." His head just fucking explodes all over Daisy.
What'd you think about Jody doing the Stiglitz line, but Spanish?
What'd he say?
When he's like looking up to the floorboard.
Say goodbye to your.
Oh yeah.
Like, adios to your gajones, amigo.
To your huevos.
Oh, huevos. And it's like, it's literally just Stiglitz, but Spanish.
I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Iconic. Like, it was such a, like, this is, okay. Like, it was an homage. It had to have been.
I love that. I didn't even think about that when I was watching it. And then I love, they're like, you only hang mean bastards, but mean bastards you need to hang. and then they fucking hang Daisy, and it's like she's like literally bending the bed frame as they're hanging her and shit. And then she kind of looked like a witch when she was hanging there, like with her stockings and shit, and just the way she's hanging there, it just reminded me of like some Salem witch type shit.
Dude, one thing I love during their she's talking about like the deal they can make, and they're like, "Well, you can take Bob's body and whatever." And Sam just on the bed, he's like, "Bob," he's like, "You ain't gonna get no money for him." Adding insult to injury, he's like, "You won't even get money for his corpse." But yeah. So my again going whenever they're first climbing, they do the flashback to the after like the main thing. They're showing what happened like hours before in the haberdashery. When we see all of them getting out of the what do you want? Just the carriage. It's not just that boot shot as they're all climbing down. He just one after one. And then he bought the one thing I do question is why did he buy the cinnamon sticks or the
peppermint sticks?
Peppermint sticks. Like why didn't he wait like 2 seconds?
And then also
kind of
threw him out.
Play it cool.
Yeah, well, he kept he could have just not been interested in them.
He kept the one because there's a moment where he, I think when John Ruth first walks up and starts questioning him, he's got the peppermint stick in his mouth.
Yeah, I just like why take the time? Just wait.
Yeah, that's a valid question, but I think it was just to like play it cool and distract them as more of a distraction tactic.
Was her name? Six Horse Jane? Was that the character's name? That
from Auckland.
It hurt me to see her die in that. I don't know why. Out of all of them, she was just such a nice person. It's like
she was really nice, and she was also begging for her life at the end there.
Disrespectful.
She literally was like holding his hand, and then he shot her, and then she's just like still holding on to his hand while dead.
We still don't know what Bob did to the coffee, do we? Like when he made the first batch.
Oh yeah, we don't. Yeah.
Like what was so bad about it?
And they were like,
you're like, John's
the worst goddamn coffee I've ever had.
John's just picky. I'm gonna guess.
It's just, how do you mess it up? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. I was just curious. But
maybe it was just old.
Yeah, I wondered if it was
hours
old,
before.
But
it was the coffee that Minnie brewed, and then hours went by because they were fucking dealing with cleaning up the bodies and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that seemed. I'm satisfied with that answer.
Yeah, it's funny though. Because there have been a couple times I've tried to rewatch this movie since I saw it in theaters, and most of the times that I tried to rewatch it, I fell asleep within the first like 10 minutes. And there's been times where I've said like I think this might be my least favorite of his movies, but I don't know. After rewatching it in the extended edition, I'm back on to loving this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah, I guess I should probably check out the extended.
I see. The one thing is, well, it's broken up into 4 parts, so you can watch it over time. But I don't know. It didn't feel like anything was necessarily added that felt like all that substantial. That I know of, but it's been so long since I've seen the original. It's also like the original's like 3 hours, 10 minutes long, and this is like maybe 3 hours, 45 minutes long. So it's like there's like a whole half an hour of stuff that's added, but
why break it into 4 parts then?
I think to make it. Yeah, it's broken up by the chapters, and I think it's to make it more digestible for people who don't want to sit through like a almost 4-hour movie in one sitting. Yeah, and since it's a Netflix exclusive, I think that was just the route that made the most sense for them. So
yeah, okay,
but yeah,
I'm satisfied with that. Yeah. All right.
But anything else you guys want to add to this one before we move on to the most recent film of his?
Nope. No, I'm good. Ooh, before we move on, another Western thing. Weirdly, the whole Million Ways to Die in the West. There's that Django cameo at the end.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Oh yeah, no. There's like, if you remember like the shooting booth part of that movie, at the very end, Django walks up to it and he like shoots the guy like behind the counter. But it is Jamie Foxx just in his Django outfit.
Huh.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I had left.
All right, so now on to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which up until today was my least favorite of his movies.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. I really enjoyed it though.
Now, I was talking to Beck a little bit about this while you went to go get food. I think there was a reason for why I didn't like this movie, and it was that I went into it with expectations that I was going to get a Manson movie by Tarantino, and that was not what this was. I mean, they're in there, but it's not the focal of the movie. Whereas I feel like both of you didn't really know too much about this movie going in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't even know it was based on a true story.
Oh, you what? Until you watched it, or
Yeah.
do you know anything about the Sharon Tate murder?
Not much, no.
Because I mean, yeah, she in real life she got murdered that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is just, yeah, that's another one of those revisionist things that Tarantino likes to do.
I think I like this ending better.
It was funny. Yeah, I was so on edge though, because like once I realized what was the like big thing it was building towards, I was so on edge just waiting for it because I love Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate, and I was just like, I didn't want to see her die, and then everything started happening. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. It's fine.
Yeah. Cliff's a fucking badass.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
Although, do you guys want to just skip ahead to the ending, or should we start at the beginning?
No, I was gonna say we can start at the beginning. First thing in the movie, Wilhelm scream. Literally opened with the Wilhelm scream. Some dude getting shot off a roof. And then that set that they use for Bounty Law, and for I think any of the Wild West stuff in the movie is it's the same set that they use for the in Django when he gets him when they go in for a beer and the sheriff of that town is like he's got a bounty. So he kills the one dude and says, now go get your sheriff. And then that dude shows up and he's like, this is the guy that I have a bounty for. That set is the same set that they use in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for the Western stuff. I think it's like actually like historical Western set.
Okay.
And then I like that Kurt Russell's the narrator for this one. Ever since Inglourious Basterds, all his movies have had narration at some point in it. Because it was Inglourious Basterds, it was Samuel L. Jackson. Hateful Eight, it's Tarantino. And then for this one, it's Kurt Russell doing narration. And then he's pulling double duty because he's also the stunt guy. That's married to Zoe Bell's character in this one.
Oh yeah. Oh, that little Bruce Lee fight there was so good. He's just like, so. Talk about how he got there. So he obviously went up onto the roof. I looked away for a second, so I'm a little confused. But he was like had tried to get in that day, wasn't allowed. But then he was remembering like why he was kind of banned from set, or is he thinking about like why like he went in, got the job, but then just beat the shit out of him?
No, he was thinking about why he didn't get this job, and it was him kind of thinking back to, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because he was like, fair enough, and
threw the guy to the car.
Right? Yeah. He's like, to be fair, he's like, I didn't know it was her car.
So that scene's actually controversial. The remaining family, like the grandchildren or whatever, the people who run like the Bruce Lee estate did not like the way that he was portrayed in the movie. They thought it was extremely disrespectful, and a lot of people who were like super into like martial arts and like fighting stuff, they said there's no way Bruce Lee would ever lose a fight like that, and that he did not behave like that at all, and that it was just an extremely disrespectful portrayal of him. Whereas Tarantino's defense was that, you know, there's a lot of stories about him talking mad shit on set and like talking like that, and he was kind of a cocky guy, and he just used that maybe in kind of a cartoonish way, but that was pretty much how Bruce Lee was. So you gotta decide which side you want to go with. I love that scene, but a lot of people are offended by it.
Well, because she comes up, she's like, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, or Kurt Russell came up, he's like, he's beating the shit out of like our lead star. He's like, first off, he's like, nobody was beating me up. He's like, it doesn't happen to me.
And Cliff's just like, they didn't in that car, would say otherwise.
Oh god, I love the whenever Leonardo or Rick, he's on set of that. He's like the what they call him, the heavy, right? And that Western show,
the bad guy
with the Oliphant is like the lead star, and he's like trying to remember his lines. And he's just reading that book next to the little girl, and she just starts asking all the questions, like, "Well, what's the book about?" And he starts realizing that it's like the guy who used to bust in Broncos is him. He starts crying.
Yeah.
He walks over and he's like, "Well, thanks, pumpkin puss," and she's like, "I don't like that. Don't call me like that. I'll make an exception for right now."
So that's one thing, like, when I went and saw this movie in theaters, the movie theater was like roaring with laughter through a lot of this movie. And I definitely think I don't think it's as funny as like a lot of people thought it was, personally. I mean, there's some really funny moments, but I don't know. I guess a lot of people call this his funniest movie, but I don't know. It's just a lot of like moments of dialogue that I guess could be funny, but it's not like super hilarious to me, not compared to some of his other movies. Like that moment where he's crying, everybody thought was hysterical in the theater. I only kind of chuckled when he started throwing a fit in his trailer afterwards. I thought that was kind of funny, but so I don't know.
That was kind of funny, but also like a very real scene.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that unfold, and that's like, it was cool. I was like, it was like hard. It was hurt a little bit. You're like, damn. But no, and then also one thing, when he's finally doing his lines and he was like, I'm gonna stop drinking, and he's holding her hostage, and he's just like yelling and doing all his lines. He was just playing Mr. Candy, but like the movie's almost so meta because he's like playing himself, and then he's playing a different character from Django pretty much for like that scene, and it just keeps reverting, but it just felt like it was the same performance he gave in Django, or is it very similar?
I loved that scene when he was, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
not really negotiating, but telling that guy what to do.
It was so good. It's just weird. I couldn't
yeah.
look at him in any other way than that. Yeah.
I like the line after he talks to Al Pacino's character and he gets offered like to go do movies in Italy, and he's like, fucking nobody likes spaghetti westerns. Tarantino absolutely loves spaghetti westerns. That's what all his westerns are based off of. And that's what, like, everybody loves spaghetti westerns. I just love that line. He's like, you've seen one? He's like, I've seen enough. Oh, also, you mentioned that that scene where he's on the roof, Brad Pitt's on the roof fixing the antenna.
Yeah.
When I saw that in theaters, I'm not gonna lie, I turned a little gay for a moment.
Oh yeah,
when he took the shirt off, I was like, God damn, he looks fucking amazing, especially for what is he, like 55, almost 60 years old. I was like, God damn, dude.
Yeah. It was nice.
Getting a little hot in here.
You know that was totally just fan service too. Like he did not have to do that. He just got up there and the first thing he does is just tear it off. What do you think about the little I do not want to dignify and call it a relationship, but the interactions between Cliff and Pussy. like throughout the movie, like the early stage. That was her name, right?
Yeah.
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 But
That was a little weird.
I love that line when he takes her to Spawn Ranch and the one girl's like, "Yeah, we all love pussy," and then he's just like, "Yes, we do." No, it's well, I like the interaction that they have in the car when she's like, "Do you want me to blow you while you drive?" And he's like, "Can I see some ID?" And then she's like, "What?" And then he basically like says, "I'm not going to prison for this, so this is a no, because I can clearly tell you're not 18." And then I mean that just was the first sign of many, because then when he gets to Spawn Ranch, it's like all very young girls there. And that was how the Manson family was. It was like mainly like young girls that ran away from home and were kind of lost. And funny enough, the one girl, the one that's like, keep an eye out, let me know if he's coming towards the house, and she's like,
Redhead, Sparky.
yeah. So that's Dakota Fanning. I used to have a huge crush on her back when I was a kid, because she's like exactly my age, and so when I was like a kid, she was a kid, and actually it was my parents used to tease me about it, like, "Ooh, your girlfriend's in this movie." I'd be like, "Shut up, Mom!" Like. And yeah, it's just funny because I haven't seen her in a whole lot since, like, I think one of the last movies I saw her in before this was War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. And then
oh god,
and what is that supposed to mean? I fucking love that movie, sir.
No, I've nothing wrong with the movie.
I love that movie. But yeah, it just seems like her sister Elle has become a lot more like active in movies in the last like decade or so. So it was cool to see her show up in something again.
So it wasn't until Spawn Ranch everything had clicked with the Manson family. Like, obviously when Sharon Tate went up to like the movie, like the booth to get a ticket, whatever, she said her name Sharon Tate. Did I say Shannon? Sharon. Okay. But I was like, oh shit. I'm like, I realized, I'm like, oh my god, like this is like around that time frame. And then they're talking at the Spawn Ranch, like, well, did Charlie already leave? And as soon as they said that, it all clicked in my head. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this is the Manson family. I'm like, she's gonna die.
Oh, it's cool too. The guy who plays Charles Manson in this movie, he also played Charles Manson in the show Mindhunter.
Oh, he looked just like him in that.
And that guy is also cool because he was in one of my favorite shows of all time. It's an Australian show called Mr. In Between. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It is so heavily inspired by Tarantino movies, and I consider it the Australian Breaking Bad, because it is just like so like there's so many intense moments. It's so funny at times. It's action packed, and the twists and surprises that happen are so shocking at times and so hilarious at others. I mean, there's an episode that straight up feels like that situation where from Pulp Fiction when he shoots that dude in the back seat on accident. Like, it's one of those types of situations that just unfolds over the course of like a 40-minute episode, and it's just fucking amazing. It's called Mr. In Between, and that guy is like a big part of that show. And I was like watching this movie, and I was like, oh wait, shit, that's Freddy! That's Freddy for Mr. In Between. Like, I got super excited.
Nice.
But yeah, and he's only in the movie for like one scene.
I didn't even realize he was in it till I went back and I saw, because I think I saw he had like a casting for it. I was like, I did not even realize that he was in the movie. But yeah.
Also, he visits because it's Roman Polanski's house, which... Are you guys at all familiar with what's going on with Roman Polanski nowadays?
Isn't he, I feel like I do, but I don't want to just...
He basically was found guilty for having sex with underage women, and he just fled the country.
Yeah, I thought it was right.
Like, if he ever comes back to the States, he will go to prison, so he's just left the country and won't come back.
You know, He probably got a
And-
little bit messed up to be on after all that shit happened, but
And then he's like actually in real life he's friends with Tarantino. So one of my only gripes with Tarantino that I have that I'm kind of like about him a little bit is that he's like made excuses for Roman Polanski in the past for some of his behavior, and it's like there's no excuse for that. But Tarantino's like, no, you gotta understand, you gotta view it. And it's like, no, dude, just don't.
don't even try.
Just stop.
Fuck. Yeah, okay, am I wrong? Did he direct Jeepers Creepers, or who was that?
I don't think.
Like,
I don't know what he
exact
did
same
outside
thing
of Rosemary's
happened with
Baby.
The director of Jeepers Creepers. But
Yeah, I am not sure on that one.
oh well. But oh, the pianist.
Also, Cliff smokes red apples.
Yeah, everybody smokes red apples. Rick
Not
did an ad
everybody.
out
There's
for
there's other brands.
red apples at the end of the movie.
There are
Yeah, I saw that. That's hilarious.
there are other brands that are used in the movies, but Red Apple's just the only one that's like a made up brand that Tarantino uses at some point in all his movies.
Yeah, that ad
is
at the end of the
good.
movie was hilarious. As soon as done filming, he's like, "God, it tastes like shit."
You saw it, right, Devin? The after credit scene.
What was there an after credit scene?
Oh my God, you didn't.
No,
Please go watch it.
dude, I literally finished the movie like the credits started rolling right at 8:15, so then I jumped on Skype.
No, it's Leo DiCaprio's character doing an ad for Red Apple, like on the set of Lawman. Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bounty Law?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back
Yeah,
and watch
it's
it.
funny. It's worth it.
I thought you were gonna say like there's an after credit scene where Thanos shows up or some shit and sets up the sequel.
Red Apple cigarettes will
Fine,
return.
I'll do it myself.
So, you mentioned the scene where Sharon Tate goes to watch her movie.
Yeah.
That scene's cool because it's Margot Robbie in the theater, but then like the promotional posters and the movie when
Yeah.
she's watching it, that's all actually Sharon Tate.
I wonder
like
if
the
they
real
did
life
that out
Sharon
of like
Tate.
a respect thing.
Yeah, they did.
I was wondering if that was why.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like the one place where he won't tread apparently to piss people off.
And then I mentioned it earlier, but one of those movies from Italy. It's directed by the Antonio Margheriti.
How did you like when they brought up the fact the fact that like when they film Italian movies it's that everybody's speaking like their own language?
I didn't realize that was as commonplace as they made it out to be, because I know, from Suspiria, that was like my only exposure to that kind of thing. I mean, I've only seen a handful of Italian like Gallo movies, and it's like Deep Red and Suspiria are the main two, and I know they did it on those. But yeah, apparently that's pretty commonplace with movies from that era in Italian filmmaking. I actually think that's pretty cool, though.
Yes, I as soon as I saw that, I thought of you. I was like, well, he probably appreciated this about it.
Yeah.
But also just like the thing that hit home whenever they're flying back and the narrator was going over and he's like, they knew this was going to be their last night together. So he's like, what do you do with someone who's more than a brother, but just a little bit less than a wife? It's like, get blinding drunk. Like, that's the only way to celebrate it.
And smoke an acid dip cigarette.
Oh my, it was like, what? How much was it? 50 cents?
Yeah.
He's like,
that reminds me, when she goes to watch the movie, it's 75 cents for a ticket, and she's like, well, what if I'm in the movie? Like, she did not want to pay to see the movie. How cheap are you? You just want to support this movie theater. Like, you live in the Hollywood Hills, but you're sweating over 75 cents.
Well, she'd used all her gas money giving that one person a ride. I mean, yeah, no.
Which I was trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out if that person she gave a ride to was one of the Manson girls or not. I don't think it was, but I'm not sure because they were the ones that were primarily shown as hitchhiking in the movie.
What if it was and they were trying to figure out like what car she drove and everything?
That was what I was thinking, as it could have been kind of like pre-planned, but I don't know. It was just something I kind of wondered about.
Mm-hmm.
Also, two of the Manson members we had talked about a little bit, but yeah, one of them was Maya Hawke.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was Mikey Madison, who she was the one that came up with the idea to switch targets. She's spoiler alert, she's one of the killers in the new Scream movie.
I saw her immediately. I was like, oh, I'm like, cool. I'm like, I know her for somewhere now.
Yeah, it was Scream. And yeah, she got fucked up in both movies.
Oh, she went on. Can I spoil a little bit? I went on fire in both movies. No, dude, she's gonna be like the next generation of like a scream queen. Like I don't know what it is, but like her death noises are terrifying. They're so genuine almost.
Well, the most recent Scream queen I can think of is I'm gonna fuck up her name. I can't even think of it off the top of my head. But the girl who was in It Follows.
Oh, It Follows.
Micah something. I can't remember what her last name is. But she's been in. She was in It Follows. She was in The Guest. She's in the. I think it's called like The Watcher or something. It's like a stalker movie. Like she's just been in a bunch of like. She's just been in like a bunch of like horror films, and she's great in all of them. I know that she's like considered like a Scream queen at this point, but yeah, I mean, she gets fucked up in like everything she's like in, Mikey. So I guess we can talk about the ending now. I mean, that's my favorite part of the whole movie for sure. The second like Cliff is like trying to feed his dog, and he's just like. Oh, whoa.
He's like, I know you. He's like, it's like he had a weird name or something. He's like, I am the devil and I'm here to do his work. It's like, no, something dumber than that. It's like, Tex. It's like, that's it. And then like he's just so high, they're all looking at each other. Like,
and then
hey, Francesca.
Him and Tex start laughing. Hey.
But then it's almost terrifying because he was still so aware of the situation because of like when he like you realize he called Brandy and like was telling her to sit on purpose. I thought he was just gonna get shot on the spot, but I didn't realize like how aware he was of what's going on, but using that to his advantage almost.
Dude, it's like the most explosive like 3 minutes. Just like like. When he takes that one girl and just starts smashing her head on literally everything in the living room, like the telephone, the mantle place, the table.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like she tackles him and he just looks down like she had stabbed him in the hip and he just kind of like flicks the blade and then just
bouncing her head off of shit.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the one girl is getting mauled by his pit bull.
Brandy was the best.
I loved it when he just threw the can at her.
Yeah. Fucking
She's
that
running
was
towards him screaming.
like a Heisman Trophy move. Just like fucking
it was good. It was good food for mean dogs, you know.
Yep.
Well, and that was like the moment that I was waiting for the whole movie when I saw it the first time. I was like, I need some Tarantino action, and then it's just like all at once in your face in that moment, and it's just like it's so like like what I was saying at the very top of this stream, like it's so violent, but it plays to like comedic effect, so it's just like hilarious. Like I was nonstop laughing during that whole scene. And maybe there's just something wrong with me, but I thought it was hysterical. Like even like I'm sure there were people that were like offended by the sight of Brad Pitt smashing a woman's face into a telephone, but I'm over here busting my ass just like laughing hysterically.
Yeah, no, I remember so vividly like sitting there and watching this, and like right up until the end when like the girl runs out of like the glass door and into the pool. I was sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I was like, this was like the least Tarantino-esque movie of like all this over the top stuff, and like the fight scene was like getting there. I'm like, okay, it's here a little bit, and then Leo walks out of the pool shed with a flamethrower and engulfs the girl. I was like, never mind. I'm like, I spoke way too soon. That was just the cherry on top.
I love that when she crashes through the window and he's just like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah, then like everybody arrives. Roman Polanski comes down. He's like, "What's going on, man?" He's like, "Oh."
I love that he's like, yeah, some hippies broke in. My buddy killed 2 of them with his dog, and then I roasted the other one. He's like, what do you mean you roasted? He's like, well, I kind of got a flamethrower. He's like, oh, from that movie. He's like, yeah, it still works. It's like super casual. Like, he just killed somebody by cooking them in water, and he's just like, yeah, it's from that movie.
And he finally gets his in with the family, and they're like, yeah, I know your like wife and everybody just got murdered. Like, you want to leave her alone now and come have a drink with us?
Yeah,
and he's just like, do it.
Dude, and it's funny too, because that is like it's kind of touching to see that final shot when you see like everybody in the house come out and greet him, because it's like what happened in real life. So it's nice to see at least like imagination of if that hadn't fucking happened. Because
and then sorry, you can continue.
I was gonna say, just because like she was pregnant, there was a baby in the house, like it was fucked up what happened. And so for it to not happen in the movie, and for them to go in that direction and be like those people who did that get comedically just murked, it just worked so well.
Yeah, and I was trying to say, they had the scene earlier where he's basically talking to Cliff, and he's like, "Man, I'd give anything to be in a Roman Polanski movie."
Yeah,
and he got a shot.
Yeah, and I was saying, because a lot of people think that this should have been Tarantino's final film, because it's very meta. It's so much more upfront than any of his other movies. A clear celebration of like a bygone era in Hollywood and just cinema in general. And then, it's like so different from his other movies, and then you still get at the very end that payoff of that Tarantino, that signature Tarantino violence. Like a lot of people say, like instead of this being his 9th movie, it should have been his 10th. And some people say since he made this movie, he should just not make another movie. But of course, him being my favorite director, I want to see that 10th movie, but. Yeah, I mean, it does, after rewatching it, it does make sense why they say that this should have been his final film. It's definitely kind of a commentary, like I said, not only on Hollywood and the bygone era, but also on his films in the past. Like, there's references, like the whole movie where he's roasting the Nazis is kind of a nod to, like, the final part of Inglourious Bastards. And there's, like, moments in the movie that are reminiscent of his other films, but at the same time, it subverts your expectations of it being just violent throughout, but still giving you that at the end. Like, it is a very, very well-made, well-written movie. And it's a lot of fun just to hang out with these guys in Hollywood for like 2.5 hours. So...
Yeah, Devin, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that one, buddy.
Thank you. I try. Did you guys have anything else to add to that, or?
No, not really.
All right, so now I want you guys to rank the Tarantino movies that you've seen.
It's something you should ask me like an hour ago. Man.
Yeah.
Dude, Sam and I are on the same page.
Let's take your time, think about it for a minute.
I really want to say Once Upon a Time is probably my favorite. It's not like tied for it. Inglourious Bastards, Kill Bill like as one is my third. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'll leave it
All
like
right,
that.
yeah, we'll just do top 3, I guess. We'll just do top 3.
All right. I'd probably say Pulp Fiction and Django tied for first. Inglorious Bastards, and then man, I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause like that, I didn't even think about Django, and I'd watch that one more than any of them. Devin, you go. What's yours?
Well, obviously, Inglourious Bastards is number 1 for me, and then I think I gotta give it up for Death Proof as number 2, and then I think it's either Django or Pulp Fiction for number 3 for me.
That's why. Why you gotta do this? It's rough.
Well, even I'm struggling a little bit here because they're all so damn good.
Tough. Yeah, no, he's so consistent. It's hard to really. It's hard.
Like, when there's a new Tarantino movie out, even if you don't know what it is, you know it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, plus you gotta. I've not seen one in theaters yet. I really beat myself up for not going to see the last one that came out. So like, when it finally drops, I have to.
Yeah, I will definitely be there the day that his final movie comes out. Because yeah, like Hateful Eight was one of my favorite movie going experiences ever. I kind of wish I had caught it on the road show he did, because he had it was right around the time that Hollywood switched the standard to digital. So he was not a big fan of that. He's a fan of classic film. So he filmed Hateful Eight on classic film reels, and he took those film reels on a road show with him and did an exhibition where he showed it in its classic film state before it got digitized for the theatrical release. So I wish I had been able to go to one of those. I also really want to go see a movie at his movie theater in LA, because he owns a movie theater where he'll show current movies that are out, like, occasionally, but a lot of the time he takes a movie from his collection and he puts it on display for a weekend or for a certain night, and then occasionally he'll show his own movies there. And those are like big events to go and see one of his movies at his movie theater. I wish I could remember what his movie theater's called off the top of my head.
If it's not the name of the theater from Inglourious Bastards, then that's why. Why would you even have one? I don't even know what the name of that theater is.
It is the New Beverly Cinema.
Okay. That's kind of boring.
But yeah. I mean, yeah, Hateful Eight was probably my favorite theater going experience until I saw Infinity War kind of blew that out of the water. And then Uncut Gems is by far my favorite movie going experience at this point, but
Ooh, that's rough.
only because Uncut Gems was literally, I was like having a panic attack in the theater, but I was like loving every second of it. And like the music started and I'm like, oh shit, it's got a synth soundtrack. And then it's like all these fucking colors on the screen. I'm like, ooh, it's lots of colors. And then Adam Sandler shows up. I'm like, yeah, Adam Sandler. I was just into the whole everything about that movie.
Man, your movie going experiences sound like way better than mine. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess any final comments on Tarantino in general?
The guy likes feet.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
oh, thank you. Once upon a time in Hollywood, whenever he picks up for the first time and they're driving down the road, her feet are pressed up against the windshield.
Yeah. Well,
That's what made me start thinking about all the feet.
well, that and Margot Robbie when she's watching the movie in the theater.
Oh yeah.
The
girl's feet were so dirty, it bothered me.
Yeah, well, it's the 70s.
I know it's the 70s, but God.
Dirty feet, big bush.
Dirty feet.
That's like the standard. But Death Proof definitely still has more feet.
Oh yeah, and for longer, but
I think that also ties into the exploitation part of that movie. That's why like it's more like there's like the lap dance and it's a little more sexual is just because it's like that was part of the exploitation thing. The only thing that I've noticed that he doesn't do in any of his movies is show women's breasts. I can't think of one example of some tatas. There was the dude's dick in Hateful Eight.
And Django.
But yeah, he just shows women's feet.
Yeah. Ugh.
He's the guy that's that's betting on Kamiko's fake feet from The Boys on eBay. He's the guy that's on the computer like, "Oh, I'm not going to be beaten.
These are going to be in my next movie." Oh, yeah. I bet.
But yeah, he's definitely my favorite filmmaker just because of how consistent he is. And I'm a guy that likes a violent movie. I'm not a huge fan of violence in real life, but I love... And it's the same with Tarantino. He's said multiple times he detests drugs and he detests violence in the real world, but it makes for such a fun movie. And that's what his movies are. They're like a fun ride.
That surprised me because he looks like one of the just most violent people. He speaks like he's mad at everyone every second and just wants to like hurt them.
Right. Well, that, and I've heard stories of him doing like, or at least it seemed like he was like super high on cocaine.
Oh my God, yeah.
And like dealing with people, because I can't remember who it was. Somebody's got like a horror story of being stuck at a table with Tarantino at a party, and she said he like would not shut the fuck up for like 4 hours, and it was like one of the worst experiences of her life.
Nice. Have you ever seen Jamie Foxx doing like his impersonation of Tarantino?
I haven't, but I'm sure it's hilarious.
He's talking about him like on the set of Django, and it's so good.
There's a movie that he did, Tarantino. It was like before he did Reservoir Dogs. It was like a short film, and there's a scene in it where he's at a party and he's talking about Top Gun, and he goes over like how Top Gun is actually like a gay romance, and he lays out all the proof that's right in front of you, and he's like now he goes over to the lead actress's like house in the movie, and she's like throwing herself at him, and what does he do? He says, "Nah, I'm good," and he gets on his motorcycle and rides out. So then the next day he runs into her, and what is she? She's dressed like a man. She's trying to bring him back to the side of being straight, but she's doing it by like trapping him. And then there's all the stuff with Goose and this and that, and it's just It's a pretty funny little theory he's got. And I always, whenever somebody's like, "I love Top Gun," I always throw that at them, and they always get like super mad about it. And they're like, "No!"
Checks out. Checks out.
But all right, so I guess that's it for this. I think we covered it pretty well. Oh, did you guys want to talk about any of his other movies that we didn't actually focus on?
No.
Like anything you want to talk about with Pulp Fiction or Django? Have either of you seen Jackie Brown?
No.
No. I meant to rewatch that one, and I did not get around to it. I rewatched Reservoir Dogs. I actually liked it a lot more on this rewatch than I have in the past. Rewatched Pulp Fiction. I didn't even need to. I realized I was like reciting all the lines as they were being said. Like I'd just seen that movie so many times. I was actually doing the same thing with Inglourious Bastards, though.
Yeah, but that one's worth the rewatch. Like
Um,
all the time.
yeah. I guess. Old Mary Todd is calling. So, I guess until next time, I'm Devin.
Sam.
Beck.
And we'll see you on the next podcast. Peace.